of game week once again ready, Louisville, Kentucky. Hey, Cards fans. Take your career to new heights with an MBA from the University of Louisville. The full-time MBA is an innovative 12-month program that accelerates your career trajectory with convenient in-person evening classes, competitive 11-month paid internship opportunities, and full access to the Becker CPA exam review. Prepare to graduate career ready in just 12 months. It's the MBA that pays. Get started today, and you could earn a degree in just 1 year. The first step is hopping online and visiting business.louisville.edu. We're on the air today from 2:33 until 5:30 here on 1450 AM, 96.1 FM, WBNA Channel 21 on television, streaming on YouTube and wherever you can find your streams. You know us better as the Big X. It's Mike Rutherford, and once again, it's Roman Kelly back in the production seat, producing the hell out of the show. Could not be happier to have our guy back. He's not 100%. He's playing injured, but by God, he looks great. Roman, how are you, buddy? Happy to have you back.
Happy to be back, Mike.
You weren't ready for me to throw it to you that quickly, were you?
Not really. But
that was the classic Roman pre-show snack, the intro snack.
I'm feeling good. I'm happy to be back. It's game week, so it's back to that mindset of how much are we going to win by, and just getting past each day until we get there. But I'm feeling good. I had a long weekend of recovery in that first initial couple of days upon my surgery that I had Wednesday. So no pain meds though in the last couple of days. Physical therapy's gone great. Feels like I'm a little bit ahead of schedule, so I'm doing good.
How was the experience? We haven't talked to you since Wednesday, at least on the air.
It was rough.
I mean, you sent the picture in the middle of the show on Wednesday, which made me a happy dad. I knew you were okay, everything had gone well, but I feel like I haven't heard a ton from you the last 5 days outside of hearing, like I said, I was like, I don't want you to push it, don't want you to come back on Friday, and you were like, all right, let's not do it. But I know that this is a B. It's a witch to recover from. It sounds like from all accounts. Give us the rundown of the last 5 days. How are you feeling? How are you holding up? What's been the worst thing? What's been surprising? How are we doing?
Yeah, the initial pain upon getting out of surgery wasn't like crazy. The swelling was bad, and not being able to like move your leg at all was a pretty crazy change just in a few short hours. It felt like. Surgery only took like 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
That's not bad.
But the anesthesia, Mike, is what did me in. I couldn't handle that, like, nothing on my stomach on a liquid IV for that many hours. And then, boom, just up to having to go about my day as normal. A lot of peeing, a lot of dry heaving, a lot of throwing up absolutely nothing but water.
I don't like that.
Because my stomach and body just didn't like the anesthesia. But after about 12 to 18 hours or so of that, it wore off. I was good from there. And I've been improving every day since.
How are we sleeping?
Sleeping's tough.
Okay.
I not supposed to like really move much in my sleep. I'm supposed to stay on my back because I'm not supposed to be moving hardly at all when I don't have the brace on. Last night was tough. The 2 nights before that were fine. We're great, really. But randomly last night, couldn't get comfortable trying to fall asleep. And it's one thing when you're not tired and you're in bed and you wish you were asleep. That's just, you're not tired, right? When you're actually tired and you want to be asleep and you can't for some reason, that's when things can be aggravating. So hopefully we avoid that tonight, but
we're staying upbeat, though.
We're staying upbeat, for
That's what I
sure.
want to hear.
Watched a lot of football this weekend.
Nice.
Shout out to Holly, my girlfriend, just doing absolutely everything for me.
Love it.
Have to stay at her house because every other place I could stay has a lot of steps to get up into it, and her house does not. So been staying with her. Hopefully she's not tired of me yet. Had PT today, though. I'm feeling good, Mike.
You were saying before we went on air, you have to ice this for 20 minutes every hour.
Yeah, they want it iced for 15 to 20 minutes.
That's insane.
Every hour of my day, which is a little bit. It's just too much. Like when I have to go be at work and I've got to do stuff, I'm not going to be icing it with my full-on ice machine. But I talked to them about that today, and they said as long as I can just get some ice packs on it throughout my radio shifts, I should be fine.
Do you have a newfound respect for, whenever there are injuries to big-time college or professional athletes, especially to players that play for teams that we're fans of. Our mindset is pretty straightforward. Like, when are they going to be back? You've got all the doctors, the equipment, they tell you what to do. Like, just let's be ahead of schedule. When's Kaysen going to be ready to go? When are all these? There's a lot that happens behind the scenes that we never see. There's a lot that these players have to go through that we just never hear about. Do you have a newfound appreciation for players that are trying to get healthy coming back from injuries like this?
I do. I definitely do. It's a process for sure. I keep finding myself questioning, like, if this is what this is like for me, like, I'm getting this level of quality help and attention, then if you're making millions of dollars to play a sport, I'm sure they're putting a pretty heavy emphasis on your recovery as well. With that being said, though, like, when you do something like that for a job, like, I'm technically stationary right now at work, right? I don't have to worry about my body being needed as I'm at work, like someone who's playing college basketball does. Not being able to do what you need to do to get better at your job, that would be, like, I've got an even more found respect for, like, the sitting that you have to do, basically.
I can see that. Well, we're happy to have you back. If you have to step away for whatever reason, we will understand. But hopefully you're now locked in. Well, I mean, what's the timeline now for you to be at a point where, like, you're not having to ice it 20 minutes? You're not, like, what's the timeline for when you can, like, move around a little bit on your own without fear of just rupturing this bad boy?
Not quite sure yet. We'll figure that out in the morning. I've got a doctor's appointment in the morning. We'll know for certain then.
All right, good. Well, we missed you last week. Big shout out to our guys, producer Matt, filling in. I wasn't here on Thursday. We had Matt McGavick and producer Keith in the house on Thursday. Big thanks to them. And then Friday got crazy because we were on remote out there in J-Town, and producer Matt had to bail after an hour, and then Patrick Ryan back here at the studio had to bail after an hour. So we had like 15 different producers for one show. Our guy Amir was out there. Gary was filling in back here at that. So we were right.
Yeah.
Viewers can kiss your knee.
You can sign the butterfly strips.
Sign the butterfly strips. Best wishes to Roman from your biggest fan, Pete. Not a lot of room for that on there, but you can make it work. It'll be all good. And it is game week. So if this was ever going to happen, obviously I don't wish injury on you, but if you had to have surgery for something, I'm glad it happened on the first bye week of the season.
Yeah, it was kind of perfectly timed to where I didn't miss anything other than our remote shows and work, Louisville-related importance. That was kind of perfect. And the fact that it was a Wednesday as well, I kind of needed the next 2 days off, and then I didn't have to worry about missing work on Saturday and Sunday. Would have maybe looked like a different week if I had done a Monday surgery. So I'm glad I did a Wednesday surgery. Glad there wasn't a game this week, and I'm ready to get back to it. Hopefully, going to this game as a fan doesn't really seem logical. So maybe I'm gonna have to just, like, email Rocco and be like, "Yo, I need a golf cart when I arrive."
I don't know if they're gonna do that for you.
They're not gonna.
I'm just. I like the idea. I mean, I'd love to be like, "Hey, I'll text Rocco. Don't worry about it." But that's probably not gonna work either. So I don't know if we can get a golf cart for you. Maybe we'll try to work something out. But regardless, we're very happy to have you back in the fold. You did send in your picks on Friday. I don't know if you were super high or whatever, but you got them back very quickly. And they were pretty good, so you weren't of totally out of mind, which is good.
They weren't that good.
Well, but still, you were okay.
Did you pick Atherton?
I picked Manual.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you beat me.
I did beat you. I took Georgia Tech over Clemson, of course. I took Vandy over South Carolina, and I took A&M over Notre Dame. So
Why did you take Vandy over South Carolina?
I picked Vandy for the Virginia Tech game last week too. Vandy. I'm riding with the Commodores. I don't believe in South Carolina. And then when I see Virginia Tech doing what they've been doing, which we're about to get into, it made me think even less of South Carolina because Virginia Tech probably should have won that game opening week if they had decent quarterback play. And we now know Virginia Tech sucks, and they've got no head coach at this point, which the overreaction, underreaction, that was the quickest we've ever had in a proper reaction confirmed. The Brent Pry.
I thought about that as soon as we got the news.
Is he going to be the coach on November 1st? When they play Louisville.
Like, wow, that was a proper reaction.
Yeah, we found out very quickly that was a proper reaction.
You make all of those, right?
Yes, okay. Yes, and that turned out to be a good one because Virginia Tech, which we're about to get into, has no head coach. We'll talk about the football weekend that was, again, bye week for Louisville. It still felt like it was an impactful week for the Cardinals because of what happened in the rest of the college football world, specifically in the ACC, which, spoiler alert, was not great for the conference. We'll talk about that. It was another eventful NFL Sunday, as they all are. We've got 2 games tonight to get ready for this evening. It was a nice big-time weekend for Louisville sports across the board. Volleyball team was tremendous in the Blue Jay Invitational out there in Nebraska. The women's soccer team, they kept rolling. They won their 7th straight with a last-second goal in conference play. The men's soccer team unfortunately fell in a great ACC matchup against Virginia. But for the most part, good weekend for Cardinal Athletics. And now we're back ready to go with Louisville versus Bowling Green this weekend. The last of the quote-unquote bye games for the 2025 season. Falcons coming to town as at last check, I'll have to pull it up again, 26.5 points was the spread, which I thought was surprisingly high, but it's up there. Louisville is going to be a heavy favorite. Probably the last time this season that we're going to see a number that large to kick off a week when it comes to spread, unless Virginia Tech is like 0-10 and they hire Kenny Payne or something for that November 1st game. But it is the Cards. It is Bowling Green. And since he's back, we have to kick off the show this week, this way. It's Monday. It's game week. Last week felt like the longest bye week in the history of the world. I feel like it wasn't just me. Every time I talk with somebody this weekend, people were saying the exact same thing. It feels great to be back on a game week. It is an opponent that we're supposed to handle fairly well. Roman Kelly, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's our confidence level? 10 means there's no chance we lose. 1 means there's no chance we win. Where are you right now as you jump back in the production saddle?
All right, Mike. You know where I'm at.
I knew it. I knew this was going to happen.
You know where I'm at. 10 out of 10 confidence.
Oh, boy.
They haven't scored more than 26 points all season against mediocre teams. They did hang with Cincy for a bit, but not long enough. You let Satterfield beat you by 14. Never a good sign. You did beat Liberty, but Liberty took a massive step off this season, Mike. At noon this Saturday, there is no reason for Louisville to lose to Bowling Green, and they are going to handle business. 10 out of 10 confidence.
10 out of 10. He's right back. And he's back to enraging the masses. That's okay. All right. We'll see what happens. Game Day Men's Health text line, by the way, is 502-414-1450. Weigh in, questions, comments, concerns. It's a Monday. I know it's a bye week Monday, but we still feel like the text line will be humming. It's the way that it works. It's a lot of stuff to react to from the weekend that was. Let's jump right into it. I think the biggest thing to react to from this past weekend in the world of football, at least from a Louisville fan perspective, is this. Roman, the ACC sucks.
It does.
There's no way around it anymore.
That is the topic of discussion in the Running with Roman show.
I mean, I don't think it could be anything else at this point. We kind of felt good about the league after week one. There were the losses were competitive and they were to good teams. Clemson barely losing to LSU, and then you had some really big wins. Most notably, Florida State beating Alabama by 14 points and Miami taking down Notre Dame. Some of those results don't look as good anymore that we had in the first week, and then now, I think some of the teams that we thought could hold up the middle portion of the conference just are not getting it done. Quick rundown. We didn't talk about this game much on Friday's show because we were out and about and it was kind of a chaotic situation. But NC State took down Wake Forest on Thursday night. Wake got out to a 14-point early lead. NC State came roaring back. I don't think there's any real shock there. Wake kind of stinks. Syracuse rolled over Colgate on Friday night. That was good. The only really good result for the ACC, and this was one of my big bets on Friday. I told you this was going to happen. Miami all over South Florida, 49-12. No issue whatsoever. Miami, without question, looking like the class of the conference at this point. It does come. I know people hate gambling stories, but I do have to bring this up. I mean, I had just 2 ridiculously brutal beats over the weekend, Roman.
Really?
So we're out. Saturday, we had double birthday party for our kids. We went, my buddy Brandon, his 2 kids, one's John's age, one's about Virginia's age. They both had a birthday party. We went out to the park for that. And then my nephew, Thomas, Mary's sister Kaylee, her son, was having his 2nd birthday, so we went to that party. So I got all my bets in early. And the ones that I felt the most my unders sucked. I'm going to have to stop betting unders. But the individual bets that I felt the most confident in were Miami taking care of business against South Florida, Tennessee knocking off Georgia money line, and then Georgia Tech knocking off Clemson. So I parlayed those and went hard early. Georgia Tech money line as an underdog, Tennessee money line as an underdog, and Miami to cover the spread. So Georgia Tech wins. Miami's crushing South Florida. The bet stands to win $1,200, Roman.
Wow.
Yes. As
you
I'm
like more than $50 on it.
I wagered more than $50 on it.
Wow.
I felt very good about this.
Mike doesn't do that very often.
Well, and I'd already, I'd won. I'd done well. I had a little bit of money to spend because I'd done well earlier in the week. And I bet Georgia. Thankfully, I did make a solo bet on Georgia Tech money line, which was much smaller.
Smart.
But I made that. But I'm walking back from. I had to go over to my grandma's old house, which is 2 houses down from ours, helping somebody with something there. I'm walking back to the yard, and I'm looking at the. I never do the cash out option, but I see that Tennessee. They've been going back and forth. It was 38-31. Now it's tied, but Tennessee's moving. They've got the ball in field goal range. And the buyout option, the cash out option, is like $778. And I'm thinking, this is the worst could happen here, but I get greedy. I want that extra 400 plus.
Well, that is a lot of money.
And it's a chip shot field goal for Tennessee. So I get back to the house. I turn it on right as the kid misses the field goal. I'm literally seeing the aftermath of the kid missing the field goal. I check the buyout option. It's down to like $250 at this point. I'm like, this is absurd. I watch overtime. I just gut punch right to the chest. Lose the bet. End up barely making any money on the day. I think I literally ended up up $11, but I still have good money for NFL. So I do my big money line parlay early in the day. It hits, and then I'm like, all right, I feel pretty good about some of these late games too. Let's do another parlay with money line winners, and of course I had the Broncos over the Colts. I think it hits because I see that the Colts missed the last second field goal, and I've got stuff going on. Mary's getting ready for this work trip that she's now on. I don't see until like 15 minutes later that the Colts end up winning because there's a penalty on the play for leveraging.
Oh, wow.
And the Colts
didn't see that.
The Colts then hit the second try, win the game. So it was I ended up losing money overall on the weekend after all was said and done, but came very close to having a fantastic weekend. I will, I didn't send any burner account tweets to the Tennessee kicker, but I kind of was, I was like, I see why, diehard gambling fans get in trouble for this. Like tweeting at players.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's an initial inclination where you're like, that kid, I hate him. He cost me money. So I can't imagine if I was somebody who spent more money than this on gambling and had more to lose on this. But you can see why this happens and why it's kind of a problem that happens in sports. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Georgia Tech beats Clemson. I promise I'm not going to chest thump anymore over this as we move on deeper in the season. But if you've been listening to the show, diehard listeners of the show can back me up on this. Roman Kelly can back me up on this. First of all, I told you 4 years ago when we first came on the air, it was over with Clemson. Told you it was over. And then for the past 7 months, as I've had to read story after story after story and listen to clip after clip after clip of people talking about Clemson being the best or second best team in college football going into the season, and Cade Klubnik being, without question, the best quarterback in the entire sport, I've had to be like, I feel like I'm going crazy. They're not that good. He certainly is not that good. And I staked my entire reputation on this take throughout the whole offseason that they were fine. They're a fine team. They'll win 8, 9 games, maybe 10. They'll be good, but they're not great. Cade Klubnik, fine quarterback. He'll be okay. The notion that he was going to be a Heisman finalist or a Heisman winner or the number 1 pick in the draft never made any sense whatsoever. And we, our own people, Louisville fans were like, no, you're wrong about this. Love you, but, Klubnik's the truth. That team's the truth. They're ridiculously good. And I had to deal with that the entire offseason. Just sit there and be like, I'm hammering home on this. Usually I'll recognize the other side and be like, I could easily be wrong. And I just had to keep saying, I'm not wrong about this. I'm not wrong about this. And you know what, Roman? I wasn't wrong about this.
You weren't wrong, Mike.
I was not wrong about it. I've never been more right about a take than I've been consistently right about Clemson for 4 years. I've been telling you every step of the way what they were going to do. And I told you going into the season, they'll be fine. Now, unfortunately, I did say that they were going to beat us. So hopefully that's the one thing that I'm wrong about. Virginia blasted William and Mary, which was good. SMU did not look good against Missouri State.
Nope.
They barely led it at halftime. They ended up winning by 18 points, but they should have handled business more easily against a team that is in their first year making the jump from the FCS to the FBS. This is where we start talking about the ones that really hurt the conference. Pitt loses to West Virginia on the road in overtime. And on the surface, that doesn't seem that bad, but West Virginia's coming off a loss to Ohio last week. Not great. North Carolina blasts Richmond, whatever. Old Dominion humiliates Virginia Tech, 45-26. I had to look this up on Saturday because I was like, does VT lose to Old Dominion every year? And certainly they've played them 7 times now over the past decade. They've lost 3 of those games. And I was like, maybe stop scheduling Old Dominion. And then producer Keith texted me, and he's like, just so you know, like they canceled the series in 28, 29, 2030. They have to play them the next 2 years. I was like, well, that's one step in the right direction for whoever's going to be the new head coach there. Not realizing that it was going to be a decision that was made tomorrow. Duke loses to Tulane on the road. Tulane's a great group of 5 team still. Not a great look for the ACC. One of my other big bets was Cal moneyline over Minnesota. Thankfully, that did hit. And then Boston College, Dylan Lonergan coming off a very impressive performance against Michigan State. This is not a good result for the conference, them going on the road and losing to Stanford 30-20. A lot of people have been talking about how all of this affects Louisville. And my answer, I think, is relatively straightforward. It was always going to be a long shot for Louisville to be able to make the college football playoff without winning the ACC, given their schedule this year, without a big-time non-conference opponent, their only power conference opponent being a Kentucky team that's not supposed to be good, and I think now we kind of see is they're not looking great. The only way that I think we make the playoff this year is to win the ACC. And the only exception to that may be going like 11-1 with a loss to Miami or Clemson, and then another loss in the conference championship game. Outside, and even then, I think there would be people who would push against us. The conference stinks. We have to pave our own way. We've got to do our own. If this is it, and I don't even know if we're having this conversation right now because the team hasn't looked great through 2 weeks. But if we are going to do what we want to do, it's going to have to be, I think, via a conference championship. We have to go to break. When we come back, we'll talk more about this, the ACC, how it's looking, and how it affects Louisville. We'll also talk a little bit about some of the news from over the weekend pertaining to the U of L football program. Jeff Brom talked to the media today. We'll tell you a little bit what he had to say, including a not-so-comforting update on Stanquan Clark. We'll take our first break. We'll come back. We'll hear from you guys also on the Game Day Men's Health text line at 502-414-1450. This is the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by It's gonna bang bang. I think we play more NSYNC than the throwback 90s and 2000 stations here locally.
These are your guys, Mike.
Wait, is that your justification for playing more NSYNC? Not necessarily my guys, although every now and then they have some bangers. Back in the day, old school Justin Timberlake, I could get down with every now and then. Cry Me a River was a bop, as the kids would say back in my day. Welcome back in. It's the 3 o'clock hour of the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus, Louisville's newest construction management company. United Mechanical, they're Louisville's MVP for commercial and industrial HVAC, electrical plumbing, and refrigeration services. Give them a call any hour, any day at 502-339-1133 or visit them online at UnitedMechanicalInc.com. I've got a stack of papers here to my right. So I mentioned this in passing, but I didn't get into it in the opening segment there. I'm a single dad for the week until Thursday night, Roman.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Mary left for a work trip at Frisco, Texas. She's doing well. But, like, she had a couple last year, and it was one thing when the kids were going to the same school and there was no homework or anything like that, and it was all labor. With Virginia now starting kindergarten, there's a lot more going on. We've got like field trip slips, or like printing out stuff. Like, my whole life now is just revolving. I don't know how anybody out there like does the single parent thing. Like it is remarkably difficult to do it while also trying to work. I mean, Virginia's school starts an hour and a half earlier than John, so it's take her to school and then come back and get John ready and then get him ready to go. So there's a lot of moving parts.
But John has to go with you to drop her off.
He didn't today because Mary's flight didn't leave until I got back.
Well, that's nice.
But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, yeah, and he's going to be just pissed off because he's used to getting an extra hour and a half of sleep or hour of sleep, whatever it is. But so there's a lot going on, and I understand that. My wife, her faith in my ability to handle all of this is minimal. And you know how I know? She wrote out. She's got like, and I love her for this. I mean, I appreciate it. It definitely makes everything easier. She's got like pages written out of everything that I have to do for the next 3 days, and like the stamps, like to a point where it's like, feed yourself, take a shower, make sure you go to the bath, like just talk about me, like not really, but it feels like that, and it's to a point where I'm looking at this, and it's like 65% of the stuff I either know about or I already do, but I can't say that to her because then if I have questions about the other 35%, then it becomes like, see, I told you, you needed all of this. But there's just zero faith whatsoever in my ability to handle all of this as a single parent this week. Step by step. Everything is laid out, which, again, I appreciate. She's very meticulous. She's very diligent. It's why she's very successful. But some of it I was like, dude, you've told me all of this. I feel like I can handle most of it. But then she's like, Virginia's got like a free dress day if she brings in this. And then for the second time in 3 years, Mary has a work trip that happens to fall on Virginia's picture day. And I've learned how to do a lot of stuff when it comes to being a girl dad. I can't do hair, Roman, at all. Like, I can do a ponytail, and that's it. That's the extent of my dad hair stuff. So Mary's got one of our babysitters coming over at like 6 in the morning on Wednesday to make sure that Virginia's hair looks good for her picture day. Because apparently 2 years ago when I got Virginia ready for picture day, I did not do a good enough job. I thought she looked fine. The other parents who saw the pictures thought she looked fine. Maybe they were just being nice, but Mary was like, her hair she looks like she's just homeless. She looks awful. And she wasn't going to let that happen again this year. So I'm doing the best I can. I had to get the extra coffee in here today before the show because it's already starting to pile up. But we're going to be okay. We're going to make it through this week together, and then we're going to be raring to go for Bowling Green.
You're a great dad, Mike.
Thank you, Roman. I was doubting myself a little bit after I got pretty hammered on Thursday night at Bourbon and Beyond. And then
just every time you're doubting yourself, just, remember that the kids are growing up with the correct fandom, Mike.
They are. I mean, John, they were watching something on TV, and it was set in, like, Detroit, and a couple of the kids had Lion stuff on, and Virginia was like, she's got a Go Lion shirt on.
I didn't mean that.
I know that, but, like, they're now starting to recognize. They've always recognized the Go Card stuff. And, when they see football on TV, they're like, are the Cards playing? Which I appreciate. They watched a little bit of volleyball over the weekend, which was good to see. But we're making strides when it comes to actually recognizing and feeling genuine emotions when it comes to our teams. And hopefully we'll take another step towards accomplishing that this weekend.
When you are tasked with having to do everything to handle the kids before and after school and stuff like this, do you ever like put your dad in your shoes?
And my dad might be listening right now, but I mean, my mom handled my dad would take me to practices and stuff. And I think early on he would take me to school in the morning until my sister Katie and I started going to the same school. But my mom was on top of everything. Like my mom, she was the ultimate mom. She still is the ultimate
I keep
mom.
thinking about Cool Dad's been in this scenario, and it's like, we don't even look at the to-do list. It's the same thing to eat every single night. Late to school some days.
Yeah. I'm trying my best. Now, her lunch is pretty easy. She recently made a switch to really liking Lunchables, which is huge for lunches. Mary usually handles it. I mean, Mary, this year she's handled it all every morning so far. But I don't have to really worry about lunch when it's just like you throw the Lunchables in the box, put a couple of cool packs in there, make sure she's got water and a drink and all that stuff good to go. So that'll be easy enough. But yeah, there were some elements of this that I was concerned about. But if you threw my dad into today's world with multiple kids, now my dad, I say that he was single dad with my brothers. He was raising two boys until my mom came around when they were already both almost teenagers. And, they both turned out really well, successful lawyers. So, yeah, I mean, I think he handled everything well. But when it was my sister and I, my mom was the one who was on top of everything. She was the one making sure the homework was I've got to go home and do homework with Virginia after radio today. This is kind of my reprieve. Usually at this point, I'm like, all right, let's do the show. Let's get through this. We'll go home. We'll have a nice night. We'll decompress a little bit. And now I'm like, God, I wish this show were 7 hours today. I would love to have a 7-hour radio show today. But alas, we're okay. We'll move on.
I had some rough days with some math homework and Cool Dad.
I mean, that's my thing, too.
Do you not see it?
I see that's kind of – people were always like when I was early 20s, because I always have been very paternal. My mom was a teacher. I feel like I was always around kids and just always good with kids. And people are like, you should be a teacher. I was like, I get very frustrated when I'm trying to explain things, and then the one way that I know how to explain it just isn't computing with whoever I'm talking to. I don't think I could ever do this. I don't think I could coach well. I don't think I could teach well. People have the knowledge. Great teachers, great coaches, what they're the best at is effectively communicating that knowledge. And I don't think I do a very great job at that with a lot of things. And so, we've been working with, Virginia was working with sight words. And she does really well. But there are the same 2 or 3 words that she really struggles with. And you're trying to get yourself out of your own head where it's like, how do you not remember that BLACK is not blue? We've done this. I haven't changed the order up. You should be able to figure. And then you just kind of calm down. You're like, BLUE is blue. It's tough. And I'm like, I don't know how else to explain this. You're doing your G backwards, for God's sake. Come on. I don't care if you're left-handed. Figure this out.
Can you not write on the lines?
I mean, Wednesday is writing day, and that's the only homework that gets really frustrating, where I'm like, all right,
If I wasn't writing on those lines, Dad was letting me know.
I'm like, all you got to do is copy the same phrase that's above here. You can handle this. It's kindergarten. I can't get that mad at it. When I was in kindergarten, we were finger painting and macaroni necklacing, and that was it. That was the extent of what we learned, I think, in kindergarten. And now it's like first grade used to be. Homework is ridiculous. Anyway, by the way, we've got Pat Kelsey and his team. They've been doing the Field of 68 crew, Goodman and Doster. They're in town, and they've been doing interviews with Pat Kelsey and the players throughout the day. We got some good audio clips to play when we get a little bit later in the show. But we'll keep the focus on football now for the time being. I wanted to – we didn't really finish the conversation about the ACC's performance over the weekend, which was not very good. But the biggest result was Georgia Tech knocking off Clemson, dropping the Tigers to 1-2 overall this season and 0-1 in the ACC, and basically putting their playoff chances on life support. I want to ask you this. So, obviously, we play Clemson this year. And like I was saying before the break, I feel like, barring the perfect storm of us going 11-1 with our only loss to a Miami team that's like 11-1 or 12-0, and then losing to them again in the conference championship game. I feel like our only real path to the playoff is winning the ACC. Maybe you can get some help. That's way down there. But if we're talking about just our ability to win the ACC, Clemson being 0-1, you would think, all right, they're one of the teams that we're competing with. That might help us a little bit. If you look at Georgia Tech's schedule, though, and Georgia Tech does have a decent non-conference victory on the road over Colorado. Granted, that win doesn't look as good now as it did a couple of weeks ago with Colorado losing to Houston on Friday night. But this is the remainder of Georgia Tech's conference schedule, Roman. At Wake Forest, who is not good. At home against Virginia Tech, who is worse. At Duke, who has looked pretty bad the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, defense looks not good at all.
At home against Syracuse, who we still don't really know, but probably not great. At NC State, maybe feisty. At Boston College, who looks bad. And then at home against Pitt, who also doesn't look that good as of right now. That is you couldn't have designed a conference schedule that's more forgiving than that one. So my question is this. Yeah, it's fun to point and laugh at Clemson. Yeah, it's we play them, we control our own destiny there. For our sake and for our purposes of trying to get ourselves into the conference championship game, was this a good result, or is this something that we're looking at now and we're like, damn, like Georgia Tech might go 8-0?
It's not a great result. It is definitely not the result that probably sets us up if we do beat Clemson for the best chance at making the ACC title game, Mike.
It's not good for the ACC, I'll tell you that much.
I don't necessarily think makes it an impossible thing to go and make the ACC title game at all, Mike. I think, if anything, it can make it more possible for us to do so with 2 losses.
Okay, I like that take. Now, we're banking on, Florida State being a little bit fool's gold at least, because we're going to have to beat them out at some point if we do lose a game. And then now I think we're banking on Tech just not being as good as this result would indicate, and having a couple of slip ups against bad teams. And then we're also banking on our ability to go on the road and take down an SMU team that doesn't look nearly as formidable as maybe we thought they were going to be going into the season, but still has a bunch of dudes and could get a lot better. And then, of course, I think the position that we're in right now, at Miami, is kind of the only loss that would be forgivable,
Yeah.
Like, nobody's out there expecting us to go 7-1 or 8-0. But if we are talking about getting to a point where we're good enough to be in the conversation, and we're talking about pass, and why not? We haven't played great through the first 2 weeks, but let's stream. We're unbeaten. I feel like the at Miami game is the only one where you can say, all right, like they look like they are kind of a different level right now. If we lost that one, we might be forgiven nationally if we could take care of business in every other game. But the ACC, we had this conversation a lot in basketball last year. The ACC doing what it's done over these first 3 weeks has put us in a position where if we go 6-2 and lose to like Miami and Clemson, nobody's impressed with our 10-2 season, Like there will not be any signature victories out there, I don't think, unless SMU gets really, really going.
I was going to say, if SMU can run the table,
even then, that
doesn't look likely.
That home loss to Baylor is kind of... Now, they do play TCU on the road this weekend, which would be a nice little feather in their cap and maybe would make people overlook that double overtime loss to Baylor.
And if Cal can be way better than people think, and we beat Cal and they beat Cal.
They are the one team on our schedule that you look at, kind of like last year when they started and they were super frisky. They're the one team out there that has the potential to be like, we're not that bad. Now, they've got 0 top 25 teams on their schedule. You talk about like the ACC schedule that's forgiving. They play San Diego State on the road this weekend. That'll be a tough game.
Their second toughest game before us?
Probably. Now, they beat Oregon State handily, who's not great, but still is a power conference, technically, team. They beat Minnesota by 2 scores. That's a quality victory over a Big Ten team that's probably going to finish around the middle of the pack there. And then if they beat SDSU, they've completed a perfect non-conference schedule, which is not a total. It's not a gauntlet, but it's not a cakewalk either.
Yeah.
And then they don't play Clemson, they don't play Miami, they don't play Florida State,
And they see SMU last.
and they get SMU last and at home. So they could. Their schedule before they play us is at BC versus Duke versus North Carolina.
They're going to run all of
At
it.
Virginia Tech versus Virginia. There's a very real chance that when we host them in the second week of November, that could be a team that's like 1 or 2 losses, maybe in the top 25 or getting votes, and could be an extra little bonus point for us if that quarterback ends up being as good as he's looked so far, which he kind of seems like he's the real deal. But outside of that, everyone that we've kind of needed to take care of their own business has not done anything resembling that. Now, Pitt still, I think, is going to be a feisty opponent, a legitimate opponent coming up in a couple of weeks. We play them on the road. We found out today that game's going to be a noon kickoff on either ESPN or ESPN2. And they get a full bye week now to lick their wounds after this loss to their hated rivals, West Virginia, in a game that they probably should have won.
But West Virginia wanted it more, Mike.
Is that what you
bad
think?
sign.
Is that what you think?
I do.
I didn't watch enough to really. I was flipping back and forth there. I was watching more of Georgia, Tennessee, and then doing birthday party stuff. But I'll take your word for it on that front. That's not a good look for them. They haven't beaten anybody of any consequence, but they do get a week off to get ready for us. But the ACC, it's just like they've got the worst record against the other power conferences out of the 4 leagues. I believe they're 4-10 now in head-to-head games against power conference opponents. That's not a mark that's going to get it done. And it's not a mark that's going to, I think, put the conference in an advantageous spot to have 2 or certainly not 3 teams in the playoff, which means we got to take care of business. And that process starts this weekend. Actually, it starts next weekend. But still, the process of getting right begins this weekend against Bowling Green. Now, Jeff Brom was on the mic today doing his game week press conference for Bowling Green. And said most of the normal stuff that you're used to seeing. Did give us an update on Sanquon Clark, which was not shocking. Kind of just confirmed what we were talking about last week, saying that he did have lower leg surgery. Again, I'm telling you, it's a broken ankle. And then he actually used the phrasing, more than likely out for the year. Could he come back late in the process? Possibly. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about last week as well, which is if Louisville were to somehow be right there in the playoff mix in mid-November, late November, potentially Stanquan could be good to go for those last couple of games. And then with him just playing the first 2 games of the season, you could play him against, Kentucky and who we played the week before that, SMU, I think.
Yep.
And he wouldn't burn that red shirt. And then any game in the postseason doesn't count against your red shirt ability. So he could play in the conference championship game, the playoff, whatever, and not lose a red shirt. Or if we go out there and we have just a kind of whatever season, go 7-5 or 8-4, and Sanquon's fully healthy, he could play in the bowl game if he wanted to, and not have that count against his eligibility for next season either. But it does sound like he's more than likely not going to see the field again this season. And if he does, it's only going to be very, very late in the year, which means, once again, what we've been talking about, it's time for TJ Capers to step up, realize his recruiting ranking, realize that potential, and become one of the better players on the defensive side of the ball for us. And if he can't get it done, then Caleb Perry or somebody else is going to have to step up too. This is one of those, it's easy for us to sit back and say, this is a next man up situation. It's a lot different for somebody to actually go out there and do it. And stuff like this, it's not an issue until it is. And if we go out and Bowling Green is moving the ball effectively against us and it feels like the middle of the field is back to being wide open and we don't have that linebacker with the closing speed to cut off a guy who's trying to get the sideline on a nice run, then we may look back and be like, dude, Sanquon would have made all the difference in the world. Hopefully that's not the case. You always hope, and it sounds like a bad thing to say, but you always hope that you kind of forget about injured players because you're not constantly watching your team and saying, man, if we just had this guy.
We have a missing piece.
Like, you want to get late in the season and be like, oh, yeah, we're doing all of this, and we're doing it, without Stanquon Clark. So that's the hope. Jeff was also asked about the early bye week, and he said, the most important thing for having an off week in week 3, and he said, getting guys fresh and ready to go is important. We had a few guys that got nicked up. The bye week was beneficial for them. But offensively, there were some unexpected things that we saw that we didn't have an answer for and didn't respond well to, which caused a multitude of other things to happen. Making sure that teams do a few things that we haven't seen on video that we're prepared for and we're ready to have answers is something that we worked on. When teams take a lot of chances, you've got to be able to beat them and beat them for big plays. If you do that, then you can settle things down, and we didn't do a good job of that, and that's on me. Now, he's saying, teams have done – he's talking just about the James Madison game. And it's been a talking point for us this entire summer leading up to the season, the knowledge that teams were going to sell out to stop the run and bring constant pressure and say, we're not going to let Isaac Brown and Duke Watson beat us, and we're going to bring heat. So if you are in a passing down, we're also going to force Miller Moss and your receivers to hook up for big plays that make us pay the price. And until you do that, we're not going to sit back. Like, we're bringing the heat. We're bringing 8 guys every single play. And James Madison essentially did that with success. And we only hit them for 2 big plays on offense. Now, those 2 big plays, they were the deciding factor. But against better teams in conference play, that's not going to be good enough. So it's not a shock that they spent a solid chunk of the bye week focusing on this. But it is, I think, reassuring and encouraging to hear Jeff Brom talk about it. Because if we go out, Bowling Green's, their defensive mindset's going to be exactly the same. They're going to try to mimic what James Madison did. They're going to try to copy the exact same thing, sell out to stop the run, and put pressure on Miller Moss. If we don't hit them with more explosive plays through the air, I think it's a very bad sign getting ready for conference play. Roman, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely not a good sign. That was kind of been the one aspect of this team that we were going to rely on when teams defended us like that. The fact that he's being accountable about it, that he's acknowledging it, some of that kind of sounds like he knows that he didn't have the correct play calling when he saw how JMU was defending and how we were responding to that.
Yeah.
He didn't fix it in time. That's his coach speak way of saying that, so that's good to hear. The fact that they saw it, they know that there were issues, they saw what those issues led to, and they addressed them, Mike. I have to hope that they're going to make the changes, they're going to make the fixes, they're going to make the improvements. I've mentioned this in the Running with Roman show. The offensive line didn't look good in the beginning of the season last year. The first 3 games of the season, it really struggled to consistently give Tyler Shuck a clean pocket. And they improved it before the halfway point of the season, and then by the halfway point of the season and the 3/4 point of the season, you saw it massively improved from each of those phases, I think. So you got to trust that they're able to do that again this season. You've got to trust that they know what they've got, and they're able to get their players in positions to make plays.
Hopefully, now, he mentioned that Nate Kariski at tight end is supposed to be back this weekend, which is good, and that will help some of the blocking issues. And I think will also he's an asset in the passing game. He didn't confirm that Trevante Sylvester is going to be back, but Trevante and his dad, this is the world that we live in now, they both sort of hinted on social media that he is going to be good to go this weekend. If he gets back, I think you could see a noted improvement on the offensive line just because he allows other guys to shuffle around and play their more natural spots, and because he was so good at tackle last season. You mentioned us really struggling at the first few games on the offensive line. A big part of that was we couldn't find the right guy to play right tackle. Whoever we put in there was just getting gouged, and it took until we moved Trevante Sylvester to left tackle and were able to move some guys around at that right tackle spot for us to kind of get really going on the offensive line. And I think the hope is that it's that simple this year. If it's not, then, we're obviously going to struggle to do a lot of things offensively. But it's a fair point. When Brom focuses on the ability to hit on the big pass play when a team is selling out to stop the run or selling out to get pressure on Miller Moss, it's not just on Moss to get that done. The line's got to be better. Moss certainly has to be better. We also need the receivers to create a little bit more space.
The receivers have to be more aggressive in that short game passing scenarios. Use your arms, use your leverage, right? Create leverage, because you know that we've got to play faster. You know you've got to get into a position to help your quarterback as fast as possible. If players are going to be putting hands on you, put them on them back, Mike. you're less likely to get the call.
Our receivers, we knew that there were some question marks out there. They've not been doing a good enough job at winning one-on-one battles. They just haven't. They've had some explosive plays here and there, but if you can't, the James Madison secondary should not have given us as many issues as they did. And if we don't see these guys win one-on-one battles, and I'm not just talking about the Trayshawn Hurries and the Dakari Collins and those guys. Like, we need Chris Bell consistently.
I want to see a helmet slap on your release, Chris.
Colin Lacey. Yeah, I don't know where he was last game. It looked like he was lacking a little bit of explosiveness. I don't know if he was dinged up at all, but he should be flying open all over the field. If those guys don't get back in a position where they're constantly creating separation and they're constantly giving Moss an open area to throw to, then the whole passing game just breaks down. And then teams are going to continue to be able to sell out to slow down Isaac and Duke, and we're going to have huge issues offensively. So totally agree with all this good stuff. It will be good to have Nate Kariski back. I do think that will help. We'll see about Sylvester on Saturday. The news on Sanquon Clark, obviously less good. The rest of Jeff Prompt's press conference was, you could probably use ChatGPT to fill it in because you know exactly what he's going to say. I tell you what, let's take a break now. When we come back, we'll let you have an early shot at the Game Day Men's Health text line. We'll talk about hoops a little bit in hour number 2 as well. We'll play some clips from the Field of 68 guys coverage, which has been great over there today. But your thoughts after the break, anything that happened over the weekend, anything that you're looking forward to this week, anything that we've talked about so far, we'll get your thoughts on that. 502-414-1450 is the number. Back after this here on the Big X. getting my papers in order here, and I happen to see I wasn't in the studio on Thursday or Friday, so Corey does the fun fact. He does it with Michael Bennett now on Just the Cats, right?
Well, he does. I think he does trivia with them one day of the week, and he does trivia with.
He still does with KRC.
KRC as well.
Okay, gotcha. So he's got and we've had fun sometimes with his he's got his fun fact sheet out here, and he's got the birthdays, and he's got now. Last week it was September 11th on Thursday when they were doing this, and he's got September 11th events here, and it's Jay-Z releases his 6th studio album, The Blueprint. Ford Motor Company introduces its North American compact model. The Piggly Wiggly opens in Memphis, Tennessee, and construction begins in the Pentagon. And I was like, I know Corey's a very smart guy, and I'm not one to second guess him. I kind of feel like we missed a big event on the September 11th history. I was like, there's something. No disrespect to Ty Cobb setting the MLB record for hits. I feel like we've missed a big one here. Just saying. I feel like he dropped the ball a little bit there. Do you want to guess the age of rapper Ludacris, whose birthday is on 9/11?
He's 42.
48. Harry Connick Jr.
53.
58. Mark Pope is born on 9/11.
43.
53. Come on. And they had a bunch of trivia about Eastern Michigan and some other stuff. We love Corey. Scoots also lets me know that his segment on Just the Cats is This Week in UK Athletic History, not trivia. That's on us. Scoots hates us. It's okay. We'll be fine. Don't worry about it, Scoots. We're still giving you some shouts outs. It is the second hour here. We'll move on to the Game Day Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. Whatever's on your mind today, we'll take text from you about it. Hit us up. Questions, comments, concerns, topic ideas, whatever you got, let's do it. Texter says, Roman, stern monologue incoming. Feel free to skip if it's too long. This is very long, but you know what? It's a Monday. Here we go. I visited some friends this weekend in Baton Rouge who are obviously diehard LSU fans, and we went to the game Saturday night. Man, I'm jealous. Night game in Tiger Stadium. I don't think you can beat that environment in college football. Very jealous. The game day atmosphere was obviously incredible, from in-game production to tailgate setups, and even just the crazy amount of fans in and around the stadium. It definitely helped open my eyes a little more as to why the elite SEC schools look down on the rest of the country, at least for football. However, I don't want to hear a single UK fan chant SEC ever again. Pretending UK football is in the same universe as what I saw this weekend, just because they both have the SEC patch on their jersey, is one of the most laughable things ever. Kentucky football isn't SEC. It's a garbage tier program living off the scraps of the big boys and cashing TV checks they don't deserve. They should light a candle every night and pray to LSU, Bama, Georgia, etc. for dragging them along for the ride. This weekend only made me hate UK even more, while also making me even more appreciative of Louisville's consistent ability to punch above its weight and actually earn its way into a power conference. We will be fine no matter what happens in 2030 with new conferences. Go Cards.
Love this take.
This sounds like you could have written this yourself, Roman.
I love this, Mike. I was not impressed when I went down there in the summer of, or beginning of the season in 2023, and what I saw at Kroger Field pregame doing my sports betting stuff I had to do down there. It's just like a dead zone down there, Mike. I don't know why they talk all this talk about having to play in the SEC when they clearly are far away from the upper echelon of SEC teams, at least in the football. But when you're a basketball school, basketball carries everything. That's why you get to talk like that.
I mean, it is. Let's call it what it is. It's a different world. Now, to be fair, comparing LSU crowds in a night game to just about anybody outside of the the Bamas of the world is
that's comparable to NFL games at that point.
It's tough, but I'm trying to think of a good dumb sports jock comparison here, and I can't really do it with a relationship. But Kentucky's SEC is not LSU's SEC. It's not Alabama's SEC. It's not Georgia's SEC. It's not Tennessee's SEC. And I'm not just saying that from a competitive standpoint, but the overall experiences are different. Kentucky football games aren't the worst place in the world to go. They don't have the worst tailgating environments. They don't have the worst crowds. But comparing them, like our guy said on the text line, to what he experienced at Death Valley it's apples to oranges. It's just like they're not in the same realm. And neither are we. So
yeah, we're not either.
And I think the difference is we know that. We're not out
our
there.
Expectation.
It's not. And it's like it's just they're not the same. You may claim SEC, but what you're claiming is not the same thing as when LSU fans are chanting SEC. They're not thinking about people doing the Keeneland Kroger Field double for a night game against South Carolina or whatever the hell the equivalent you think is. It's just it's different. I mean, that environment for Tennessee Georgia was different. That was a hell of a game. And I did love the crowd shots there because, fans on both sides are in tears before the game's even over. The emotions are just insane. And it's different for sure.
It is kind of shocking, though, how different it is. I went to a Saturday night UK basketball game, and that was I get it. I understand what they're talking about down here. That compared to the football games that I got to go see is just completely different realms of fandom.
Yeah. No question about it. Texture says, I wasn't able to listen live, so I had to listen to the pod this morning. Where is your boss going to have your? Oh, come on. I can't read that. I'll say the same thing that I said on Friday when a similar text was sent in. I voiced my opinion on the matter, and that's all I could do. Text says, I can't believe Mike picked us to lose to this guy in his season predictions. Oh, that's right. I did pick us to lose to Virginia Tech. Who is this? This is a message board poster that said Brent Pry never had I don't know if I can say this. It's a different word for pig. He never had Hogs Plus. It was all a lie. Ronald McRawdog, show yourself. Brent Pry does not and never has had a dog in his life. His jeans are not snug. They are loose. He's a pathetic excuse for a head football coach. It was evident from week 1 in 2022 at ODU. This guy has no idea what he was doing. There are hundreds of JV high school coaches who could call a better game than him. I've never seen a P4 head coach struggle more with understanding clock management in the rule book. The man took Blue Chew before every game and fooled all of you, and he took millions of dollars from this university in the process. I don't know what to say to that. And if you didn't hear the news, Virginia Tech did go ahead and fire Brent Pry after the 0-3 start that included their blowout loss at the hands of Old Dominion over the weekend. And we spent a portion of a show this summer, I know, talking about this, how Virginia Tech, that game in November, is one of those where what happens in the first 2 months of the season plays a huge part in how difficult or not difficult that game's going to be. Because now with the portal, when seasons start to fall apart, guys get 1 foot out the door pretty quickly.
Yep.
And, there will be players for Virginia Tech, I would put money on this, key players, who after this week will start saying, I'm not playing anymore. Because they will have played in 4 games. They'll know that this is a lost cause. If you're a senior and this is your last year of eligibility, but you've got a red shirt to burn, some of those guys will be like, I don't want to go out on a 2-10 team with a lame duck head coach and have this be my final memory of college football. I ain't playing the rest of the season. And so now that November 1st road game against Virginia Tech, I say this knowing full well that people talk about the Brom Clunker and all that stuff out there. We can all agree, though, however difficult you thought that game might have been before the start of the season, it certainly looks easier now than it did 3 weeks ago. And that's comforting. And if I can walk back that prediction now, I absolutely would. I don't. If you ask me now to predict that game, I don't think we're losing it. Texter says,
Mike,
yes,
has us at 10-2 right now. You've heard it here first.
I'm not going there. I'll still say 9-3, just a loss somewhere else.
No,
look, I feel much better about the VT game. I did predict us to go down there and beat Miami, And after watching them play the last couple of weeks, I do not feel nearly as confident about that. Speaking of, you want to talk about a big spot for the ACC? Miami-Florida game this weekend is a big spot for the ACC because it's a rivalry game. College game day is going to be in town. Everybody's kind of taking shots at Florida.
Florida's not written off yet.
Florida's not ranked now. They lost to the South Florida team that Miami just pummeled. They, Lagway threw 5 interceptions against LSU. The numbers still say, whatever, the how bad did we get beat analytics say that Florida had the best performance of any team that lost this past weekend, and that the turnovers and the bad luck stats and all that good stuff played a huge part in them not being able to win in Death Valley against LSU. If still having said that, they're a team that's 1-2 and has not done anything remotely well on offense the last couple of weeks. If they go into Miami and knock off the Hurricanes on their home field, that's about as bad as that almost, I feel like, guarantees that the ACC is going to have no more than 2 teams and probably 1 in the playoff, unless Miami runs the table from that point forward and Florida State keeps looking as good as they're going to be. It's a big spot for the conference. I'm throwing up my U's Saturday night. Texter says, after seeing how our future ACC opponents performed this past weekend, I'm even more confident that we can rack up wins on the schedule, but at the same time, less confident that we'll make the ACC title game. Miami's becoming a must-win game because of Georgia Tech's easy road to the ACC title game. I hope next season, when the ACC considers going to a 9-game schedule, they make the last game an open date where the top 4 teams can play each other for the ACC title game and the others for bowl positioning, because these wild scheduling differences are leaving no margin for error. This was always going to be a thing when the conference expansions happened. You were going to have wildly imbalanced schedules. There were going to be some years that gave you opportunities. I mean, I think we got the benefit of a schedule 2 years ago that wound up not being as tough as we were thinking it was going to be. And then the last 2 years now, we've had schedules that have looked tougher than maybe initially we thought they were going to be, at least at the top. Playing at Miami is the toughest game you can have in this conference right now. And even with Clemson starting off 0-1 with the loss to Georgia Tech, you still expect them to be one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the league when all is said and done. SMU, I think the same thing is true. So, yeah, it does feel like we're in a position now where you've got to win at least 2 of those 3 big games in conference to have a shot. And even then, you're kind of up against it. So I think we all had the same emotions watching the ACC do what it did over the weekend or didn't do, which is, yay, these games look a little bit easier than maybe we thought, and boo, there's now far less wiggle room. And even if we win some of these games, we're not going to get the bump in national perception that maybe we thought going into the year. Now, one of the things I said before the start of the season, when we were just outside of both the human top 25 polls, was, don't worry about this. We're right outside the top 25. A lot of these teams are going to take the losses that always happen when madness starts taking place in college football, and we're going to move up, and we'll probably be ranked going into the Pitt game. I'm not sure that's going to happen now. We keep getting fewer and fewer votes in both polls. We are, if you take into account, if you want to look at it this way, we're 33rd in the AP poll now. We've steadily dropped after every week. We received significantly fewer votes this week than we did last week, despite not playing a game. And then in the coaches poll, we are 32nd. So there's some work to be done for us to get in the rankings. I'm not sure that, if we go out there and paste Bowling Green, we're still probably not jumping in the top 25. And if we beat Pitt to get to 4-0, we might still be just outside the ranking. So we're not getting the benefit of the doubt. Part of that's probably the way that we looked against JMU. I think the larger part is people don't know how to handle all these upsets, and the teams.
That's all it is.
ACC just not looking great.
It's got to go handle business, Mike.
Everything will take care of itself. We're going to be fine. We're going to be okay. Texter says, I wasn't able to. Oh, yeah, it was one I started reading already. Texter says, hey, Mark, I know you're a Nate Bargatze stan, but his opening monologue on the Emmys was a big whiff. I did watch this last night, and it wasn't great. I liked the opening sketch. They did the Washington reimagined thing that they've done on Saturday Night Live a couple of times. I thought that was funny, but when he got the mic in his hand, it wasn't nearly as good. It's a weird spot for him. Like that's not exactly his core audience. But I'm still a big fan, but he wasn't. The Emmys overall. I mean, like Mary, I watched a little bit of it while I was eating dinner because Mary was watching it. Everyone's humor just kind of isn't for me. I'm getting so old. Like all this, I'm like, this isn't funny. Like just say the award of these people that I don't even know anymore. Just stop. Texture says Riddler here wanted to send this in for a few days since Roman wasn't going to be able to defend himself, but I need to respond. I need to respond to his garbage take on Tuesday about getting rid of the sound system and replacing it with only the band. First, you can't hear Cards first down over the speakers because the announcer hasn't been saying it. We're relying on the crowd, which I think is dumb. Second, our band is absolute garbage. I sit on the home side and legitimately can't hear them play beyond the beat of the drums. The horns are pointed towards me. I still can't hear. Legitimately the worst college band I've ever seen at the power level. Mary Rutherford knows. Cut the band and give the money to the football team, Josh. P.S. Sue for the banner while you're at it. Riddler's got some hot takes.
He does. I feel like they're still saying the Cards first down thing over the PA, but at the same time, I feel like I haven't heard it every single time, so maybe he's right. Obviously, I don't want to just hear only the band, but more so if the other aspects of what that game day experience is like aren't top notch, then let's buy into the full college experience of what the game day should look like. But at the same time, I feel like we should be replacing at least the sound system things to make the stadium sound good all across the stadium, wherever we're at. I've heard this take about the band, Mike. I've only seen a couple bands. Notre Dame's band felt like it was pretty loud and in tune together, but ours seems like I've had a lot of people tell me this take.
The band has made significant strides over the last few decades. It still is nowhere near. It's like we're just not we don't have the tradition that college football powerhouses do. And unless you have that decades of previously built-in infrastructure, it's kind of tough to make that jump. And our band is, it's, like I said, it's improved, but it's never going to be the level of some of these teams that we're playing out of conference and some of the teams that we play in conference. So, yeah, it is what it is. I'm just going to keep saying what I said last week. I would love to have all the bells and whistles at every arena, stadium, venue where we play games as an athletic program. We're going to see more of this moving forward where stuff doesn't get addressed quite as quickly because all of that money, the coaches and the administrators, they're going to have to decide where that money goes. And to a person, I think almost all of them are going to say it needs to go to recruiting. We've got to get players. That's the biggest thing. If we win enough, that stuff will take care of itself. And look, I don't care if we're playing in a dump, if we're winning national titles in football or coming as close as we possibly can. The problem is everybody else is spending a crap ton of money too.
Yeah.
So you've got to spend money just to get back to the status quo, just to get back to where we've been historically for the past 25 years. Especially now with the SEC and the Big Ten being so cash loaded, and that's a tough sell to the fans. When you say, hey, tickets are higher, the stadium accoutrements are not as lavish as they've been, that paint's chipping off the seats, the sound system's not great, they'll accept it if the team's out there going 11-1. They won't accept it if the team's out there going 8-4 or 7-5. People are going to start saying, what are we paying for at this point? And that's a tough situation for a program like Louisville to be in.
Where the expectation isn't college football playoff or bust amongst the majority of the fan base.
But the fan base still wants to see it happen.
Exactly.
And we've got to spend top dollar, and we've got to take a bunch of cuts that we didn't have to take 10 years ago to put ourselves in a position where we even have a chance.
To go get Isaac Browns and Duke Watsons and Miller Moses.
Yeah, and you've got to rely on your staff being able to find those guys that are three-star, like Isaac Brown, that are good recruits, but not the recruits that are going to demand six-figure paydays from the Ohio States of the world out of high school. You've got to rely on the staff being able to find those types of players. And then we really have to rely on kind of the way that we've always won big games, just having the right combination of big-time recruits and a coaching staff that can minimize the talent deficiency that we have versus the Clemsons and when we beat Miami back in the day. Like, we got to trust Jeff Brom to get this done. And even then, we're kind of up against it. It's just it's a different world out there. Texture says
the PA doesn't say Carr's first down. He says, and that's good for another.
And then the crowd says
finishes the rest.
Okay. Texture says the Onion did our boy Ashton Gelati dirty.
Did you see this?
I'm just now seeing it. The picture of shirtless Andy Reid holding Ashton Gelati to his bosom. Study shows the benefits of skin-to-skin contact between new players and coaches. The Onion's done better. I'm not just saying this because it's Ashton Gelati. It's not that funny. Ashton, by the way, did start the second half for the Chiefs on defense. Did you see that?
I did.
I think that he's gaining some trust.
He is.
From the folks in Kansas City.
Heard a lot of good things about him in podcasts and stuff from other NFL guys associated with the Chiefs. So,
I mean, the Kelsey brothers were singing his praises. You had if you just Twitter search his name, it's a bunch of Chiefs fans and fan media just talking about how good he's been playing, and talking about him making big flash plays. Andy Reid did say this about Gelati and cornerback Noel Williams, who's also a rookie. I would tell you I thought they did a solid job in there. I liked the effort. I liked them hustling, getting themselves to the ball, getting off blocks. I thought they were very respectable. Not over-the-top praise, but still. Some nice praise for Ashton in his debut season with a franchise that's been kind of on top of the sport for the last however many years. Texas Dolphins guy here. What's up, Dolphins guy? All I know is pain. I jokingly flirted with the Bengals for a week and Burrow dies from turf toe. Guess I'm stuck with the LOL-fins. Fire Greer, sell the farm. Please, Josh, destroy us on Thursday night. More banner planes rumored to be in flight. Sell the team. It's a rough time for the Dolphins fan. You know it's not a rough time for? Lions.
They look good.
They did look good. I was also – so they forced a couple turnovers from the Bears and had short fields and didn't get points out of it. And I'm MFing the new OC up and down as this is happening, as my son's getting his hair cut on Frankfurt Avenue. And then
cut looked good.
He looked fresh. He's feeling himself a little bit. And then I start watching the game, and we're just doing whatever we want against the Bears. I'm like, all right, we hung 52 on them. Maybe the new OC is going to be okay. But my friends who are Bears fans, they're like, you're beating up on a high school team. We're terrible. And it did kind of look like that. I'm still
worried that the Bears aren't going to be very good.
The Bears aren't going to be very good. I'm reserving a little bit of judgment on the new offense until I see them do something of substance against a quality opponent, which, by the way, they're going to have a chance Monday night. I hate these games, but it's going to be Ravens-Lions next Monday in Baltimore. We have not fared well against Lamar Jackson, who, by the way, is putting up MVP numbers through 2 weeks again this year. He looks pretty good. Did you see the Lamar stat that was dancing around last night?
The QBR and rushing stat?
Yes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He is, not QBR. Lamar Jackson, as it stands right now, and again, this fluctuates from performance to performance. He's the all-time leader in NFL history in pass rating.
Oh, pass rating, that's right.
102.648. And also has, of course, the most rush yards in history for a quarterback. Those are two pretty impressive numbers to put together.
Gotta get the ring, Mike.
That's the thing. Like, people keep saying this, where they're like, if he gets the ring, then we start talking about him being one of the greatest football players of all time. And I'm like, yeah, he's got everything else. He's been fantastic through 2 weeks. 7 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, 9 yards per passing attempt, a 136.6 passer rating. He's completing 69% of his passes. Also the only player in the NFL who's top 10 in passer rating since 2019 and top 10 in rushing yards since 2019, which is outrageous. I like seeing him on that Sunday conversation thing, by the way, too. It's very funny if you haven't checked it out.
Right. Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was great.
Very funny. I know it's cool. He's just laughed at every single question, which was wonderful. Texture says, my early prediction for the men's basketball team's non-conference record is 11-2. No ACC team has been undefeated in non-conference play since Virginia in 2018-19. That worked out well for them, but I don't think we're doing it. Number one UK listeners texted in, Roman.
Saw this.
Afternoon, Mike. In the 4 years or so of listening to your show, I've had a rule. Don't talk trash and don't get mad because I feel like I'm a guest in a house as a non-card fan. If I don't like it, I can always not listen. With Cutter, who knows if he will end up being good, but he's a former student of mine at LCA, and he's a great kid. And if he ends up being good, I may have to poke you all a little bit, and I hope I get to, but only in love. Well, we appreciate that. LaRue County transfer. LaRue County lost last weekend, by the way. 1-3, Roman. Just letting you know. I'm just sharing the stats of a local-ish high school football team. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing. Cutter got really good after he left LaRue County. What does that say? I don't know. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more from you guys on the Game Day Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. It's the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical. Back after this on the Big X.
Crack Sporting Goods is Southern Indiana's
under the moon. It's the same as the emotion that I get from you.
It's the 4 o'clock hour of the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus, 1450 96.1, YouTube, WBNA Channel 21, Big X Sports, family of networks. We're going to give a shout-out. We mentioned this, I think, a little bit, but we didn't really get into it. Louisville Volleyball, big-time weekend for the Cardinals at the Blue Jay Invitational. They bounced back. They had a gut punch loss to number 2 Texas on Wednesday night. And I think a lot of folks were kind of wondering how they were going to bounce back in just such short time. against a Creighton team on Friday night that was going to be playing in front of a sold-out crowd. Roman, Creighton hadn't lost at home in volleyball in 2 years. And Louisville goes in there. They drop a set early, and you're like, oh, I don't know. This is going to be tough. This could be back-to-back losses. And they turn it on. They win in 4 sets. No issue whatsoever at the end of the day. And then no rest. They played Northern Iowa on Saturday, a team that nearly knocked them out of the NCAA tournament last year in the second round. They knocked them off in 4 sets. And then despite going up against an overmatched Rice team on Sunday, they're still, they've played 4 matches away from home in 5 days. That's a ton. They do drop a third set, but they still win in 4. They bring home the title in the Blue Jay Invitational. Kara Cressy is the most valuable player. She looked phenomenal all week, including in the Texas match. Louisville now 7-1 in the season. Despite the loss, they moved up in the AVCA top 25 from number 4 to number 3. And we got a showdown coming up on Thursday, Roman.
What is it?
Kentucky's coming to town. Thursday night, 6 o'clock. Louisville versus Kentucky. It's going to be at the KFC Yum Center. Kentucky was number 3 last week in the rankings. They got knocked off by Pitt. They fell to number 6. So it's going to be a top 6 matchup between the Cards and the Cats. ESPNU will have the television coverage, but if you can make it out there to the KFC Yum Center, it should be quite the environment. We'll see if we can get Dan Meskey on. I was talking to, no way to say this without sounding like, I was talking to Josh Hurd at the Bourbon and Beyond, the little place we were at on Thursday, and I was letting him know about the Dan Meskey guy on the text line. And he's like, I'm going to have to start giving Dan crap. He's like, we have to get him on. And I was like, I don't know. It's kind of become a bit at this point. I kind of wanted to keep going. He seems to be having some success.
It'd be funny if Dan was part of it. He made it a bit on purpose.
He's like, I'm purposely ignoring your DMs. I've not texted him directly. I've got his number now. But I kind of want to see how this thing can go at this point. I feel like it's good for the show that we just keep him. This becomes a thing. But props to the Cards. Big weekend in Nebraska. And hopefully they can keep the positive vibes rolling on Thursday when Kentucky comes to town. And we can win. I think we've won like 5 straight over the Cats. And they've been very good in a lot of those years. Hopefully we can keep that going as well. Nebraska's still number 1 in the country. Texas did get 3 number 1 votes. They're number 2. And we are just behind those 2 teams. The other big news that's happening right now, this obviously is much bigger news nationally, but in the NFL, it's a quarterback catastrophe, Roman. We got quarterbacks dropping like flies in the NFL. Joe Burrow out for 2 to 3 months, apparently, with this toe injury. J.J. McCarthy now out 2 to 4 weeks with an ankle injury. Jaden Daniels is banged up. We had quarterbacks going down everywhere.
Yeah, it's happening. I don't know which one. I don't know if I can decide which is going to be the biggest loss. You have to imagine it's Burrow, though.
I feel bad for Burrow. And I'm not even like the biggest fan in the world of him, but he can't stay healthy. And he does seem like a generational talent when he is good to go, and he just cannot.
Not a generational talent if you're not always good to go, Mike.
You're not wrong. It's been a tough ride for him. And it's one of those things, the Bengals, they barely lose that Super Bowl. There's a questionable call here or there, or a play that they just don't make, and you're like, well, we'll be back. We got Joe Burrow. We're still young. Stuff happens. You got to capitalize on those moments when you get those opportunities, because now the future of that franchise is looking very much in doubt. Although they do come back and win that game with Josh Browning at quarterback, maybe they can be – I think they can still be a playoff team with Browning. They're not going to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
I feel like he's lining up for the Matthew Stafford career path.
I don't think.
Granted, Matthew didn't have. When he wasn't injured, somebody on the team was. Key players were injured whenever Stafford wasn't, but
he also never had a season like the Bengals did a couple years ago, where they went to the Super Bowl when Stafford was in Detroit. He only had the one terrible injury, and I think it was his rookie season.
But just year in and year out, feeling like you are not achieving what you think.
And that you've got a limited ceiling.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that I can see that. Maybe he goes out there and does win a Super Bowl when he finally gets out of Cincinnati. But it's not a great time to be a Cincinnati sports fan. We're officially not talking about the Reds on the show ever again. Done. I've never hated a team more. I think in any sport, besides the Kenny Payne teams maybe. All they've got to do is go out there and play competent baseball against the second worst team in the AL that's playing on a high school field and instead they go out there and get swept. I'm done. I can't watch anymore. I can't believe that I convinced myself to watch the game. I didn't watch yesterday at all, but I watched Friday and Saturday night at like 11 o'clock at night, and I just it's not worth it. This team sucks. I hate them. I cannot stand this team at all. I may have never hated a Reds team more than this one, and there have been some abysmal Reds teams in my life as a fan. So we don't talk about the Reds in the show. Game Day Men's Health text line. We do talk about the text line. 502-414-1450 is the number. Reminder about our friends over at Game Day Men's Health. They are redefining men's wellness with no shortcuts, just results. Testosterone, peptides, weight loss, and sexual performance therapy. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com today, and you'll see all about how they're defining a new era in men's health. Texter says, this is podcast Random Thoughts Guy. I'm taking it as a personal affront that Roman didn't upload the podcast from Friday on the day of my birth. Mike, do the Lions play better against Baltimore on Monday than they did a couple of years ago? They can't play worse. The podcast, people were talking about the podcast on Friday, Roman. I was like, dude, we had like 6 different producers on the show. I'm just letting you guys know that podcast ain't getting loaded.
I wasn't here Friday.
it was never going to happen.
Yeah, there was a lot of moving parts Friday. I don't think you guys were on TV Friday either.
We weren't?
I don't think so.
I was asking how that was working. There weren't any cameras. I was like, are they running an audio with like a picture of me on the TV? I didn't know what was going on. We had a lot of people out, and then Matt had to leave in the middle of the show. Patrick had to leave in the middle of the show. So there was a lot of stuff going on. And, it was – I knew that wasn't going to happen. So apologies for your birthday. As far – the Lions can't play worse against the Ravens than they did. I think in 2023 it was like 49-6 or something. It was really, really bad, whatever it was, and Lamar was unreal. Also says, what is this? I don't know what this is from, but it's a copy of some text from a story. Many of Hodney's teammates remember Tom Capozzoli repeatedly taking up for him with high school administrators. One remembers a coach being fired after he tried to warn Hodney's parents about their son. Ralph Willard, who was the athletic director at the time and went on to coach basketball with Rick Pitino at Louisville, says, I don't remember there being any problems with Todd, to be honest. I just remember how he hit. Who is this guy? What's going on with this guy? Todd, convicted rapist and murderer. Todd Hodney. I don't know what story this is from. Played at Penn State. It's not a great quote from Ralph Willard there. Don't like that. Maybe shouldn't say that. Texas CFB here. I won't be Cubs fan Brian today, but by God, do I want to be. I appreciate you for being the bigger person here, CFB. It's not like you, but thank you. Rest in insert word you can't say here to the insert team that we don't talk about. I appreciate that, Cubs fan Brian. Anyway, Cubs fan Brian is chomping at the bit to see what Louisville brings this weekend. I need Moss to look a lot more like EKU Moss than JMU Moss to have any hope of special things occurring this fall. With the ACC looking underwhelming yet again this year, the margin for error is razor thin. If Moss again looks skittish against Bowling Green and then gets fully exposed by a decent Pitt defense, I fear Miller may not make it to the end of the season. Ease my fears, Miller. Roman, do you agree or disagree with this take? Are you kind of on edge when it comes to Miller Moss going into this weekend?
No, not really, Mike. As someone who thinks that he's not going to, be more than a B-plus quarterback all around, I don't have any fear that he's going to be able to achieve that for us. I feel like that they're going to make the adjustments they need to make. He's going to know that he needs to play a little bit faster. He's going to know that he needs to read some things himself rather than just relying upon Jeff and Brian to make things happen for him. So I expect for Miller to improve and for them to improve what they ask of Miller.
I'm with the texter. I'm on edge here because, like you, I maybe didn't have the highest expectations in the world for Miller Moss. My expectation was for him to be somewhere between Tyler Shuck and Jack Plummer. And I still think he could be good for us and we could be a really good team if that winds up being the case. My concern is that he's going to be worse than both those guys. And I think we saw a little bit of in the James Madison game that gave credence to that thought. Now, the offensive line's got to be better for us to really know, and the wide receivers have to be better for us to really know. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not somewhat concerned about Miller Moss. Because if he's not good, we don't need him to be great. But if he's not good, there's no way this team's winning 9 or 10 games this season. There's just not. We need, quarterback play is important. I don't know if people have heard that. And he's looked okay, but it's also different than Tyler, where we never got a chance to really see what Tyler Shuck was capable of when he was fully healthy. We got glimpses of it, but the injuries were the biggest concern. With Miller Moss, I think the biggest concern was he got benched last year at USC. And
he made tough, bad decisions in critical moments.
He did, and we've seen a little bit of that so far again. And I think it also doesn't help that, again, very early in the season, but Jordan Maeva is looking pretty good out there, and it's kind of looking like they made the right decision by letting Moss go. Miller's got to take that personally. Like I want to see Miller Moss get out there and be like, I want to prove people wrong. Like I hear the chirping, I see what people back in Los Angeles are saying, and that process, I think it starts on Saturday, because like the texter said, if he goes out there and he's just kind of like again, and we win, I don't know, like 30-20 or 30-17 or 30-14. I think then you really get concerned about whether or not this guy can go out there and win you 5, 6, 7 games in the ACC.
Listen, Mike, Miller is going to be, and it's tough to say this because there's no logic in how it sounds, but he's going to be the best and worst quarterback we've had so far in the Braum era. He's more athletic than Plummer. He's more athletic than Shuck.
I don't think he is.
I think that with the ability he has with his legs, the ability he has to be athletic on the run, not accurate necessarily, you're going to see a lot more highlight plays from the quarterback position than we've seen in the last 2 years. I think you're going to see long TD completions from the quarterback spot. I think maybe even like the longest completion from a quarterback even in these last years. But you're also going to see the biggest lack of high IQ football decisions in critical moments in close games, I think. I think when the pressure's on, it's a close game, you need Miller to not necessarily be perfect, but make the best decision 10 out of 10 times. That he's going to feel that pressure. He hasn't shown in his career yet that he necessarily thrives in that kind of pressure, and I think that's where he's going to be the worst QB we've had so far in these 3 years. But I do think that athletically he's got the highest ceiling out of the 2 QBs we've had, Mike.
I don't think he's as athletic as Tyler. I think he's more of a willing runner, but I don't think he's as athletic as Tyler Shuck. He's more athletic than Jack. He's not as big as Jack. I mean,
Miller's not accurate, but he can throw it pretty far.
I don't think he's got the arm that Chuck had. I think he can outthrow Plummer. I don't think he can throw it farther. And again, we're comparing him to a guy that just got taken 40th in the NFL draft. So that's a pretty high bar to clear. I think we need to see it to be a little bit more at ease when it comes to Miller Moss's ability to lead this team to a good season.
I also think we need to be prepared for the issues that we know Miller has to see those. Like that's going to be a possibility.
I'm fine with those issues. I'm not fine with it. I want to see it improved upon. Where I'm really concerned, he's been locking on to 1 or 2 receivers through the first 2 games against inferior competition, and that's going to have to get better. Like I want to see better eyes. I want to see him actively looking off linebackers. I want to see him doing some misdirection, because every time he locks onto a receiver, I'm kind of like hoping he's going to throw the ball the other way, because I'm hoping that it's like he's trying to bait the secondary into doing something, and every time so far, it's been him just locking into a guy and then just throwing the ball at that guy. That's going to have to get better, and that's, coaching staff, this is where like the quarterback whisperers have to get involved. You see that on film, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now it's hammering it into this kid's head and getting him to do it on the field. Texture says, Bourbon and Beyond was awesome. I didn't see you, but I did see Nick Roush in yellow tinted sunglasses and a cowboy hat. A friend of mine, shout out to Haley Minogue, 99.7, DJX's finest. She had a video from over the weekend about her experiences being out there, and she did have Nick Roush doing what appeared to be a drunken country jig in front of her, like where he's like kicking his legs out. I looked like he was having a great time. Roush lets you get some drinks and some music in front of him. He lets that South End pre-Oaks, pre-Derby mentality just take over, and it's fun to see. I love seeing it. Cowboy hat was maybe a little bit much. Straw cowboy hat. Texture says, so Mike is saying he'd be the KP of teachers. Experience doesn't mean you could teach it. Stop.
You'd be better than that, Mike.
There's no the Kenny Payne comparisons on the text line just kept coming after you were gone last weekend, Roman. We had like 5 straight days with some Kenny Payne reference.
Opened up the floodgates for
There's
it.
no reason. It's middle of September. Stop. If he wants to, if he's catching a stray in the middle of basketball season, that's one thing. We don't even need to be invoking his name at this point at all. Texas says, I do a tremendous amount when it comes to my kids, parenting, things that may traditionally be a mom's role, etc. But if anything ever happens to my wife, I will pay an irresponsible amount of money to have somebody else help my kids with homework. My problem is, like right now, it's frustrating because she's young and it's hard to communicate things to her, and she's trying to get it. And my daughter also, she's very much like my wife when it comes to, they both are kind of perfectionists.
It's got to be like this.
Yeah, exactly. And if they don't get things right away, it frustrates both of them to no end. It is so funny, genetics, because like Mary, her whole life, if I'm trying to teach her how to swing a golf club, I'll show her, and if she's not hitting it exactly like me after 2 swings, she's like, well, I want to hit it like that. Like, this is terrible. She's like throwing. She just cannot handle it. And that's exactly how Virginia is. So that's the frustrating part of it now. In a couple of years, the frustrating part is I'm not going to be good. like once you get past 2nd grade math, I don't know if I can help you with math. Once they started throwing letters out there when I was in grade school, I was done. So I'm going to start feeling so dumb when the homework gets to a point where it's beyond my education level or my current intelligence level. And then that's going to be the frustrating part of it as well. So, yeah, we're going to have to, I'm sure, tag team homework with the kids growing up. I'm not looking forward to it at all. I'm already not liking it right now, and this is just kindergarten homework. I don't want to have to deal with it. Texas, don't worry, Mike. Being a father to a 7-year-old girl, it took some lessons from my wife in the early years to make a proper ponytail instead of the Mel Gibson, the Patriot ponytail. It's a good text. I feel like I do a pretty good ponytail at this point.
Good.
I can't do anything else, though. And picture day requires more than a shoddy ponytail. My daughter's hair is long now. And, yeah, I'm also just dreading bedtime tonight. I'm not sure. We've got it down to a science when it's both parents. I don't know how it's going to work tonight.
Throw a movie on.
Well, we try to avoid that type of thing, but we'll figure it out. Virginia actually handled it better. Like John, when Mary was getting ready to leave this morning, I started like welling up with tears. And then, of course, that made her start to cry a little bit, which just made it all work. I was like, you guys just need to separate. Like, it's going to be fine. We're going to be okay. Virginia was okay, but, yeah, not great. Texture says, how about those Lions kicking the old coach's tail? All right, what did you think, Roman? I got to ask you that. I don't know if you saw this, but I'll present the scenario to you. So, Ben Johnson, the offense coordinator for the Lions the last few years under Dan Campbell, he leaves and goes to a division rival with the Bears this year. Whatever. He's been a head coaching candidate for a couple of years. It was always inevitable that he was going to leave for somewhere. But like I've always said, even if you have an amicable breakup in sports, it's just like an amicable breakup in real life. Here you go now. Now we're cooking. You can want the other person to be happy. You don't want them to be happier than you. You always want to let them know, like, hey, I'm winning the breakup, right? So the Lions are kicking the crap out of the Bears, and they're doing it with their offense. They get down. The end of the game's happening. They've been kind of just running milquetoast plays and trying to run the clock. But they get down to the Bears' goal line. It's like they've got 1st and goal from the 5. They run 3 straight, just kind of draws, like whatever. And so it's 4th and goal from the 3.
I didn't see this, no.
They go for it. It's 45-21. There's like 2.5 minutes left in the game. And they throw it past Amon-Ra St. Brown for the touchdown, his 3rd touchdown of the game, to make it a 52-21 score. And Bears fans are like, this is unsportsmanlike. You're running it up on Ben Johnson. Now, to his credit, Johnson after the game is like, what do you want them to do? If they kick field goals and take the points, you say that they're running the score up there. Putting us back down at the 3 is also good gamesmanship because it's even if you don't get it, you're forcing them to take. Like, it's on our job to stop them, all this stuff. I bet behind closed doors he was a little bit less generous. What's your take on the Lions kind of sticking it to him there at the end of the game?
Love it.
I like it too.
I love it. It's what more professional teams need to have this kind of mindset, Mike. Regardless of the coaching change there. I mean, you're gonna kind of put an emphasis on it when it's like, hey, this could be you. This could have been you. Let me remind you what you left here. That's obviously probably playing a little bit of a role, but you play to the final whistle. You guys are pros. You get paid to play that sport. The entirety of the game until the clock hits 000. So I love that. I think you should go for 2 after that touchdown.
The other thing was, I mean, how often do you get a chance to hang a 50 burger on somebody in the NFL? You don't see many 50-point scores in the NFL. When you get that opportunity, I feel like you go for it. You take it. And I think
I'm practicing 2-point conversions, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been a little bit different, too, if the offense hadn't looked so bad against Green Bay. Because that's also kind of, and I think there's probably a little bit of sticking it to Ben Johnson. I think there's also a little bit of Dan Campbell.
Let's not scare the fan base.
Well, no, wanting to prop up the new OC, wanting to prop up John Morton, who's drawn a lot of heat for the offense not being good against Green Bay and was getting some heat, from me included, at the beginning of the game on Sunday, and him wanting to kind of like let everybody know, like, we're going to be just fine. We can put up 50 points on dudes. Let's inflate some stats. Let's get Amon-Ra 3 touchdowns, and let's like let everybody know if people want to leave, we're fine. That that's good for them, but we're going to be just fine without them. I think all of that went into the equation, and I was good with it. I was hoping they were going to go for it when they got stopped on 3rd down. I was like, hey, let's do it. Let's punch it in. To quote Bobby Petrino at the end of his first game against UK, let's punch it in on these MFers. Like let's do it. If you have the opportunity, you go for it. Texas, glad to have you back, Roman.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Someone's second text in the show ever. Their first text was, hi, Big X team, Roman is awesome. This has to be somebody you know.
I wonder if it is, but
270 area code, though.
I don't have very many of those.
I don't know. Little Dumper says, Louisville volleyball finally gets some respect and moves up to number 3. Beat UK this week. I also destroyed Fairdale Dumper in fantasy this week. 0 1-point safety needed. That's a tough look for Fairdale Dumper. That's a beatdown. I did win in fantasy in my other league this year. I'm more focused on Survivor now. I joined a pay Survivor league.
You got to pick the right team every week?
Yeah.
But you can't pick
the same team twice. Yeah. I'm trying to win this money. It's a big league. Wow. And I'm terrified because every time I ever play Survivor, the same thing happens. I'm in it for the first 4, and then I just forget one week. Like, it'll be Thursday night or something. I'll have a bunch of stuff going on. Something's going on with the kids. And then all of a sudden it gets locked when the Thursday night game kicks off, and I've just forgotten. And so I'm picking like 2 weeks in advance at this point just to have somewhere a pick in there before I forget. Texture says, glad Roman is back, watching on TV for the first time. Mike, you look a lot like AJ Hawk on McAfee's show when Roman talks. When will we get Roman McAfee and Mike Hawk? See, it's a reference that I don't get. I don't see McAfee's show, so I don't know that.
AJ's always looks like he's in deep thought, or he kind of looks. Well, I've noticed it. He does. AJ will look like he's in deep thought when he's going to respond, or he'll look like he's not listening at all.
Oh,
so I don't know which.
Well, I'm always listening.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it looks like the gears are clicking when I'm talking.
Yeah, I'm always listening. I do. I mean, every now and then I will like click over and see if anybody's said anything on Instagram. I mean, not Instagram, on Twitter. Make sure that there's no gigantic breaking news or anything. But I'm usually locked in. I love Roman steaks. I want more of them. How's Atherton Soccer doing, by the way?
They're not doing great. But they're figuring it out.
The inflection in your voice changing was wonderful.
They're figuring it out. They got to win this past weekend, I believe.
There we go. All right. Football team, they didn't win, but they held up. They played pretty well against the 6A team.
Scored first.
For a while there. I mean, they got it like to 23-21. It also sounded like a game where if they hadn't had the turnover issues, they could have been right there. I think pound for pound, they were playing right with Manual. Still a threat to win a 5A state championship, which is crazy. Let's go Ravens. We're all in. Texas Jeffrey Brommer here. I don't know how I feel about that nickname. I think
he's on X.
I'm aware. I just
not an interesting nickname.
Not someone that I necessarily want the program affiliated with. I think Miller Moss needs every rep this weekend despite the score. He's got to get more confident. If he's still not looking confident and making poor decisions, we may need to consider Brady Allen as QB1. I don't want Brady Allen as QB1. I think it would be Deuce if it's anybody. I would feel more confident with that. I agree with your take, though. Unless it gets like 45-0. Ridiculous. And he's played well. I want 4 quarters of Miller Moss. I do think that he needs the experience this weekend, especially coming off a bye week. Is that fair?
100%. I think if the offensive line looks how it did, he's going to have to play for 4 quarters.
We got to get the passing game going. I still fully expect, I know what happened 2 weeks ago against JMU. I still fully expect the running game to be elite on a week-to-week basis. The passing game is where we've got to have all of our offensive focus. If the passing game doesn't get better, and that includes the blocking, includes the wide receivers, all that good stuff, it's going to be tough for this offense to lead us to 9 or 10 wins, which I think is still the hope at this point. Hey, we haven't lost. We're 2-0. Not everybody can say that right now. Let's take a break. When we come back, little hoops talk to kick off hour number 3. Pat Kelsey and his players were on with the Field of 68 crew. Some good stuff out there. We'll talk about that. Also some news from over the weekend, and then we'll take more text from you guys. It's hour number 3 of the Mike Rutherford Show. It's kicking off next here on the Big X. The third hour today of the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus, 1450 96.1 Big X Sports Radio. If you've been hurt in an accident or hurt on the job, you know where you go. The Collier Law Firm. We had a decent amount of guests on the Collier Law Firm hotline last week. We'll have a couple more this week. Maybe not Dan Meskey, but some others. Collier Law Firm, they've been doing what they've been doing for 10 years plus because they get results. And once they get results, they make sure that you benefit the most from those results, not themselves, which is why they don't make you sign a piece of paper that's going to put 50 or 45 or 55% of your recovery money back in their pockets. That's what the big firms will do. That's not what the Collier Law Firm is going to do, because at the Collier Law Firm, they got your back. They don't have your wallet. Call them today at 502-736-8141 or visit them online at collierlawfirm.com, COLYER lawfirm.com. Hurt in an accident, hurt on the job, Collier Law Firm. We're back here on the Monday edition of the show. It's Mike Rutherford with Roman Kelly, who's back after his ACL surgery from last week. We're very excited to have Roman back in the fold. We're also very excited to hear more of Roman for the rest of the day today, as we'll have Mondays with Dalton Pence kicking off at 5:30. He'll take you all the way up until 7 o'clock tonight. A lot of Louisville talk on the show. I'm sure he'll be talking about some basketball things. We've got some basketball nuggets to discuss. Now, the first thing before we get into the Field of 68 crew's work today, I want to ask Roman something that was talked about on the show on Friday. It sounds like Tay Kinney is more than likely going to commit to Kansas coming up here in 13 days. He's announced a commitment date of September 28th. All the crystal ball projections that are being made by the folks that follow this sort of thing are projecting him to go to Kansas. Roman, your quick thoughts on this, as he was a guy that we had talked about a decent amount on the show, and if, in fact, Kinney is going to go ahead and become a Jayhawk, where do you pivot if you're Pat Kelsey?
I mean, you probably go get the next best player you can get, Mike. I'm still seeing a couple different things that it's not a done deal that it's not actually a done deal yet, that there's still a chance that Louisville could be in the running. I think that with him announcing his date and the date being as soon as it is, Mike, I just wouldn't be surprised at all if this just does go the Kansas route.
I'll stop you right there and tell you this. The U of L folks don't have a ton of hope at this point. Like, there is still efforting being made behind the scenes. There's not no hope, but if the commitment were being made today, I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt, the commitment would be to Kansas. And like I said, they will continue to make efforts to try and do what they've got to do to get back in the recruitment and open it back up. But I don't have a lot of faith that he's going anywhere else besides KU. That's all I'll say on at this time, Roman. Anyways, continue.
You go with the next best player, Mike. There was a couple different guards that we were in for in the same class. I think that with what you expect Mike Held to do this season as that freshman point guard spot who's planning to only be here for one season, you're going to go be able to make any of those top point guards interested in coming here. So the fact that we've been in on so many different names, I feel like they're going to be in on somebody that they think is going to be able to take over that position for them. I mean, you're not going to replace Michael. Those kind of players just only come so often. But an athletic guard who you can kind of rely on immediately as a freshman who has multiple facets to his game, I feel like that's going to be a common theme, and you're going to have the Michael success to go on going forward, and you're going to have more potential players like Tay Kinney that are going to be just as interested. So I'm not really worried. Now, I'm forgetting the name, though, of the kid. Was it Caden or maybe his last name's Caden or something? His first name or last name starts with a C. I can't remember. He's a real bucket getter, though. He's on an Adidas circuit team, so I have to go find his name here. I'm looking for it. But
I mean, the problem, I think, is that Louisville, they sort of went all in with Kenny and made some of the other point guards that they'd had contact. Like Dylan Mingo was a guy that they were in on earlier. Deron Rippey, who now Kentucky's kind of gone all in on. They kind of let everybody know that they were being put on the back burner for Louisville to try to go out and get Tay Kinney. And now you kind of have to go after a guy who's okay with being the second choice. And some of those top guys, I don't think that they're going to have that mentality. If you look at the best point guards in the class, I mean, Jason Crow's already committed to Missouri. So the best point guard, according to a lot of people, is already off the board. Then you've got, we've not, I think, really recruited Brandon McCoy a ton, who's out there in California. Mingo now is we've been off the radar for a little bit there. Maybe you try to get back in with Rippey, although Kentucky, it seems like, is now in a very good spot with him. And then you kind of have to go down the list a little bit more to see point guards at least, that would be more in the fold. I also wonder if there's, do you take that NIL that was going to go to Tate Kenny and say, well, we're going all in on Tyron Stokes, try to get him, and then try to get a big-time point guard out of the portal. That is an option that you didn't have 5 years ago if you misfired on a top recruit that you'd spent a ton of time and effort trying to get. But this is my take on Friday, and it was not. It was like, it's going to sound like coping. It's not coping. I wanted to get Tate Kenny, but if you don't get him, you've got more places to go now than you had 5 years ago. You can get a guy out of the portal. You can get maybe you can get both. Maybe you can get a point guard from the class who's ranked more between 50 and 75, but you can utilize him as a backup for whoever you go out there and get in the portal next season. There are more options now in this type of situation than there were just a few years ago, and I think that is a little bit comforting when it comes to all this. Now, this leads right into the discussion of something that came up today. And I think it's interesting that Kelsey was willing to go into this. It's made headlines, but the Field of 68 guys, Goodman and Doster, they were in town today at practice. They had an extensive conversation live with Pat Kelsey. They also talked to a handful of the players afterward. But, Roman, I sent you this clip on DM, on the Big X account, the first one that you see. Pat Kelsey goes out there and kind of plants a flag today and straight up says, like, we're point guard you. We had Chucky last year. He crushed it. Mikel's going to be a superstar point guard this year, and kind of puts the notion out there that if you're a big-time point guard and you want to go out there and be known as one of the best point guards in the country and then hopefully go out there and play professional basketball, we're the place for that. Well, I'll let his words do the talking, and then we'll react to it. This is Pat Kelsey talking about Mikel Brown's commitment to U of L.
I work hard every single day to prove him right and to make him proud. And, Mikel picked point guard U. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, he picked point guard U. Now,
you're taking that away from Lute Olson in Arizona back in the day.
Yeah.
You're stealing it.
Coaching's all about stealing things, stealing ideas, and with all due respect to Coach Olson, one of the greatest in the history of the game, I think in the modern basketball era, Louisville is point guard U.
What makes this kid special, Pat?
His makeup, and I think it starts with the way he was raised with his mom and dad. He's as humble of a superstar / 5-star / decorated player as you're going to find anywhere. He doesn't carry himself like he's any better than anybody else. He works, he knows that in that locker room, he's still a freshman. And he, I don't want to say defers, but he understands that the older guys and the seniors, and he knows his place a little bit, but gosh darn, is he a dog, and is he a competitor? Does he want to be great? What makes him special is makeup. It's like Coach CP years and years ago, and he just had that it about him. He was, I always said Chris was like Mozart. He just had that natural born feel and IQ for the game of basketball, and you see a lot of those same attributes with Mikel. A special young man, special player, but it's the makeup and the caliber of human being he is that makes him great.
You just mentioned
obviously high praise there for Mikel Brown, but I think the bigger takeaway is, and let's make no bones about it, this is a branding attempt by Pat Kelsey. This is not something that he just thought of on the fly. He's clearly put thought into this, and he's out there saying Louisville is point guard U. And he says we've been point guard U in the modern era of college basketball. I've got a take on this. Roman, I want to get your thoughts, though, immediately. Do you like this? What's your takeaway? What's your response?
I like the purpose of saying it. I feel like he's, manifesting that that's going to be the case going forward for us.
Yes.
In terms of the Pat Kelsey era, Mike, he's 1 for 1, and we're expecting him to go 2 for 2 here. And we actually haven't seen 2 for 2 unfold yet. So it seems like it's a bit extreme for what he's actually done under the Louisville coach moniker, but I think that when you look at the past names that have come in here, the players that have had success in the Louisville jersey, a lot of point guards. Some of the best players in Louisville history are a couple point guards, a few point guards, I should say, and he's not wrong in that. In the overall history of Louisville producing good point guards, 100%. He's got to hit on Michael and then kind of make it happen a third time for me to like fully agree with him that Louisville is point guard you. But I love what the purpose of him trying to say this is for.
It definitely. I feel like this is something that he's trying to make happen moving forward, which I like. I mean, he wants this reputation to get out there. You know, we do the QBU thing with Louisville, and the difference there is when outside networks, ESPN, they do like quarterback U rankings and wide receiver U rankings and running back U rankings, and Louisville is almost always somewhere in the top 5, and we've got the names to back it up. Point guards aren't necessarily what Louisville basketball has been known for over the years. Like every great program, we've certainly had our fair share of good ones, but we're more known for doctors of dunk and high-flying basketball, and we've had like most of our best players, I feel like, have been wing guys.
I feel like with the U thing, like it's the point guard U, quarterback U, or the university, it's either that title comes from bringing in really good players at that position already, or players that are leaving your school really good at that position and you having an effect on that consistently.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Point guard's not really either one of those.
Yeah. I'm being put in a position where I've got to say something that I don't want to say. Kentucky's had a lot more great point guards in the modern era of basketball than we have. Like, that was kind of John Calipari's thing. Just he almost always had fantastic point guards, and if he didn't, their teams kind of fell apart. But that's why they recruited that position, and they've had a handful of guys that have gone on to be great point guards in the NBA. We haven't had as much of that. I mean, Peyton Siva was a tremendous college point guard, but he wasn't a guy who went to the NBA and crushed it. And then when you look at what's happened since he was here, our best play, like Russ was not a natural point guard. Donovan was not a natural point guard. He didn't play the point guard position. Terry Rozier could run a little bit of point, but played more off the ball.
Really good passer that was not a natural point guard.
Yeah, I mean, Quentin Snyder was kind of the natural point on those teams in those years. So, like, we've had good point guards, but I don't think and again, I like all these guys, so I'm not trying to, like, disparage them, but you can't point to, like, these recent years where we've had, like, Kristen Cunningham was a fine point guard, but he was not a first-team All-American or an NBA draft pick, and then in recent years, we had Sky Clark and Jared West and some of these guys. Like, this is all a long-winded way of me trying to say as nicely as I can, we have not been point guard you in the modern era of college basketball. But I feel like this is him trying to make this the case moving forward.
Yeah, modern era starts last year.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not wrong, Mike.
Exactly. And Chucky Hepburn was a fantastic college point guard. But if you're trying to say, he always brings up Chris Paul. Chucky he's not an NBA guy now, unfortunately.
Not yet.
But he was runner-up for ACC Player of the Year. He was first-team All-ACC. He was a fantastic college point guard. So I think you can reasonably say he was 1 for 1. And
he was also better than what people thought his game was. Like he unlocked something in Chucky. Like he proved that he made him a better point guard.
I think that's a great point. This is a guy who had started 3 straight years at Wisconsin, which is also a big-time program in college basketball. He was well-known in college basketball circles. And yet, in his 4th year in college, he played a different style, and there were elements of his game that nobody knew about until he got to Louisville and was under the tutelage of Pat Kelsey that became more obvious as he played in that system. And now you have Michael Brown, who everyone expects to come in here and be great and then go on to be a top 3 NBA draft pick. Like, make no bones about it. This is a recruiting pitch now, especially in the wake of the Tay Kenny news, to like a big time point guard, whether it's a guy who may be in the portal in 6 months or a guy who's in the 2026 recruiting class, the 27 recruiting class, to say you need to come here and follow in the footsteps of these guys. Chucky was wonderful. Michael's going to be wonderful. Who wants to be next?
Yeah, he's got great pitches. Our starting point guard last year led the league in assists. Backup point guard led the league in 3-point makes. He's got all kinds of different recruiting pitches for it, but I think that's all it is. The fact that he knows he unleashed something in Chucky. He made the product of what Chucky Hepburn is, a point guard, put even more note on that and put a even more positive opinion on that nationally, it starts last year if we were going to become point guard U, because even then you can't even really be point guard U with transfer point guards. So
Yeah.
you have to do something like that. Make a player that's already considered good look great. That's the only way you're going to make it work with transfer point guards, and you've got to come bring top point guards in to be point guard U. You got to create top point guards or bring top point guards in. So you brought one in. You showed he's even better than what we thought. You brought another one in that is now going to be the top of his position in his class. If you do it for a third year, I'll probably start saying it. Fan of point guard U.
Now, I do also like that this really aggravates Kentucky fans, because if Michael goes out there and plays well this year, I will beat the point guard U thing into the ground. I will continue to throw it out. It's just point guard U being point guard U. Yeah, what do you want me to say? And it's not going to be just Kentucky fans. There are Carolina feels like they've always got great point guards. Like, they'll get pissed off about this. And it's good to ruffle some feathers every now and then, especially when we've been sort of, a blue blood or fringe blue blood, a top 10 program that hasn't looked like ourselves in recent years. It's nice to kind of re-announce yourself a little bit, ruffle some feathers, get out there and mix it up. So I'm good with that. Speaking of the Field 68 guys who now are officially members of On 3, is anybody not officially a member of On 3 anymore that covers sports? I mean, I think it's just us. I think it's you. I think it's you, me, and
like Matt McGavick. And it's like,
McGavick. We're the only people that haven't joined On 3 at this point. But they put out their, and I don't think this was by coincidence either. They released their official preseason top 25 for the upcoming college basketball season while they were here in Louisville. I mean, you're going to hate number one. It's Purdue. You think they're frauds.
Oh, my gosh. Point guard who can't defend.
I did see, Purdue fans getting all upset about us being listed as having the best backcourt in college basketball. And I was like, okay, cool. You've got Braden. Who else do you have? We've got 4 guys that can absolutely crush it. And I think that our guys could be fine going head-to-head with Braden Smith. Houston at number 2, which I agree with.
Yep.
Florida at 3, fine with. UConn at 4, fine with.
That's high.
Duke at 5, don't necessarily agree with, but whatever. Louisville at 6.
I'm okay with it.
Kentucky at 7, right after Louisville. Do we think that's by design? I think it's by design.
It is. It always is.
And then St. John's at 8.
By design as well.
Maybe. Texas Tech at 9, whatever. And then Michigan and Dusty May at 10 right there. Arkansas, if you're wondering, with John Calipari and Kenny Payne is at 12. I like it. This is kind of where I want to be. I don't want to be
how far does the list go to?
Top 25.
Is Tennessee on there?
Tennessee is 22nd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're on there. NC State is 20th. Carolina's 25th. Kansas, who we play, obviously, in a exhibition game coming up here in about a month, is 16th.
I don't think they're going to be very good, Mike.
I don't know what to think about Kansas. I feel like that's about 16 to 20 is kind of where I envision
a lot of
them.
changes this year.
But I wouldn't be shocked if they're better than that. I wouldn't be shocked if they're worse than that. I think that they're sort of a mystery, and they've been underachievers for 2 straight seasons. Will that continue? But I kind of like being in that 6 to 10 range because, I mean, look, when it comes down to it, we haven't won a game in the NCAA tournament since 2019. Pat Kelsey's never won a game in the NCAA tournament. Of course, I don't know if you knew this. Todd Golden had this time last year. But it's tough to go from that to not just, they're back, but, they're preseason number 1, number 2. Like, they're expected to win a national title. I want everybody to know that we've got a really good team because I think we have a really good team. But I don't like don't want the weight of being preseason top 5, if that makes sense.
I get it, because then we should be a Final Four team.
Just right there on the fringe. Just right there looking at it. Now, my favorite quote, so I listened to Javon Hadley was on after Pat Kelsey was. By the way, they made Pat Kelsey read some meat tweets from fans.
I saw that he made him do this, but I didn't get to hear any of it.
So some of them were pretty funny. And, of course, they had to filter out the super explicit ones, but there were some good takes on his height. There were some UK fans being like, UK owns you. Now, he didn't take the bait where he wasn't like, we're going to kick UK's ass or anything like that. He just kind of read them and laughed at them. Javon Hadley was very, very good while he was on. He talked about the decision to come back and be a leader, and he said the professional element of this team is what makes them so great. Everybody knows how to work. Everybody knows what's expected of them. Kason Pryor came on.
Are we worried about Javon's braids?
He didn't have him in today.
He didn't.
He had him in the practice videos that were out there.
The same ones Chucky changed to at the beginning of the season last year.
So I kept double taking. I don't like it.
If you've got the fro, you got to keep the fro. We've learned that.
I mean, if Kanai wants to go braids again, I'm good with it.
He started the season off with the braid.
He did, and he looked fine. Braid Javon doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work. I think it's
our mature leader. We need him clean cut.
I could not agree more. But he said some really good things. Now, Kason Pryor also came out, in addition to saying that
but we also want Javon to feel himself too, Mike.
We do.
It's a tough thing.
Kason said he said I'm on track to be fully recovered. He had some good videos of himself over the weekend, looking like he's moving well and dunking. He also said, "Hey, technically, I don't know if you guys knew this. I've got another year of eligibility after this."
We were debating this,
so we kind of didn't know if this was going to go down. This year, he's using the junior college extra year that he had for playing a season at JUCO. And then because he got hurt and played in less than 20% of our games last season, he's got a medical redshirt that he can apply for next season.
The fact that he's even saying it is a great sign.
It just goes to show that he knows his situation. He's got that in the back of his mind. Maybe he's not going to use it here, but let's say he goes out there and crushes it this season. He's back to being like a seven-figure guy somewhere in 26, 27, if he chooses to go that route, whether it's here or somewhere else. But my favorite...
Better be here.
Well, we'll see. My favorite quote, Isaac McNeely was on, and I sent you this video as well, if you can line it up. He was asked about, like, look, you guys have this heavy-duty transfer portal group. A lot of you are guards. Not all of you can start. You bring in Michael, they bring in you, they bring in Ryan Conwell, they bring in Adrian Woolley, they've already got Kobe Rogers. How did that affect your decision-making? And his answer got me super fired up. This is what he had to say.
Glad to come here with having a fight for the minutes and maybe not playing quite as much and getting as many shots.
Well, I'm all about winning, and PK, he told me the whole time, like, he was really upfront with me about the recruiting process. He was recruiting Woolley, he was recruiting RC, Ryan Conwell, and he was really upfront. He wants all three of us. Like, it wasn't like we're going to get two of these guys and then let the other one go. He wanted all three of us to be here, and he was really upfront about that, and I appreciated that. And it's funny, actually, like, you said I was the last one, but me and Ryan, like, we're literally simultaneously.
I think you were after him.
It was very close, very close, but after. I think PK was at dinner with Ryan, and he decided, and then I called him like 20 minutes later and decided. So it was kind of weird how all that worked out, but, I wouldn't want it any other way. Obviously basketball-wise we're going to be really good, but I've made some of my best friends here since I've been here these past 3 months. And like you said, 4 guards, there's probably only room for 3 to start, but that's okay. Whatever my role is, starter, sixth man, I'm willing to step into that role and, go for a championship.
Love that.
How do you not love that? Whatever my role is, starter, sixth man, I'm here to go for a championship. I also love, everybody talks about having culture, and we got the best culture, and Pat Kelsey's made it a theme to say we want to have the best culture in America. What does it say that this kid, and this isn't necessarily a knock on Virginia, but they've obviously been going through some big-time changes. Even before he was officially gone, it felt like Tony Bennett was kind of on the way out. It was not adjusting to this new era all that well. But this is a guy who, he spent 3 years at Virginia, which has been widely known for having this fantastic culture and having that play such a large role in their success. He comes here, and he's like, I've made some of my best friends in the last 3 months. I think that speaks volumes.
Pat Kelsey's doing something in these off seasons, Mike. That's it's really creating a group of brothers every year, it looks like.
And I think one of the things that he is doing is targeting the players that not only have the skill sets that fit his system, but that he does feel like are going to form these types of bonds and that are going to be able to mesh. And he's talked about that a lot.
Personality type is something they look at in recruiting.
I just love the fact that before, when the portal opens, they've already locked into the guys that they want. And they go to all 3 of them and they say, hey, just letting you know, we don't want just 2 of you. Like, we want, I know you guys, it's going to be a crowded backcourt, but we want to get all 3 of you on board. We want Adrian Woolley. We want Ryan Conwell. We want Isaac McNeely. This isn't we're just throwing out a bunch of offers because we're hoping that, 2 of these 7 fish are going to bite, and then the other ones we're going to forget about. We want all 3 of you. And McNeely was the last to commit. I think that they did also kind of slow play the release because they wanted to let everybody have their own a little bit of time to get the adoration from the fan base. But they had targeted these guys, and they were ready to go, and they got it done extremely quickly at the end of the day. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't be excited about that. That's awesome. I also love listening to Javon Hadley, where they were asking about the fans, and he talked about his experience. He went to Northeastern out of high school and played 0.2 minutes per game. Barely saw the floor for Northeastern, and he went the JUCO route. And he said JUCO is kind of when I learned how to be a pro, like how to approach this, how to have a work ethic. I brought that with me to Colorado, and then I brought it with me to Louisville. And they asked him, well, those are two power conference programs. What's the biggest difference between Louisville and Colorado? And he was just like, dude, everywhere you go in the city, everybody just wants to talk to you about basketball. Everyone's like, hey, Vaughn, love the go cards. He's like, the whole season last year, you couldn't go anywhere without all of us being swarmed. And that's just different than anywhere else. And he said the same thing that we always say, which is every player, every coach, they all think that they've got the best fans. I genuinely think that we have the best fans. I've never experienced anything like that. All of that stuff, if you can find it out there, every interview that they've done is really worth your time. Shout out to the Field of 68 guys for being here in town and doing some great work.
See your spouse. The Royal Gorge is one of the highest suspension bridges in the world, almost 1,000 feet above the river below. The walking surface is sturdy, but if you look
Hey, what did that say? It's fall. I mean, can we all agree? I saw actually earlier
it's
today.
not.
It's fall.
It's not.
There's 8 days until fall officially starts. It's September 15th.
And it's 87 right now.
It's hot in fall here. It's the way that it goes. School's been in session for like a month. Football's been going for 3 weeks now. It's fall. There's nothing about right now outside of the heat.
And my knee.
What does your knee indicate that it's summer?
Oh, that feels cruel right now.
Okay. I mean, okay. Come on. It is cruel. It's nothing to do with summer or fall. You can't just bring everything back to your knee. It's going to be okay. It's the final segment here of the Monday edition of the Mike Rutherford Show presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus. But again, the Louisville talk does not stop at 5:30 today. We'll have Dalton Pence in here. He and Roman, is producer Matt going to be in here as well?
Yep, he's in.
They'll be rocking and rolling from 5:30 to 7 today. So the Cardinal talk will continue. Keep your thoughts flowing with them on the Game Day Men's Health text line at 502-414-1450. We've got a doubleheader of Monday Night Football tonight to talk about. I'm sure Roman's big. Did you do Big X, Big Bets while you were on the injured list, or were you?
Yeah, I gave out a loser on Wednesday.
Okay.
And I gave out a winner on Thursday. It was one prop on Wednesday, one prop on lost the Rays money line Wednesday. We hit on the Josh Jacobs touchdown, 12 straight game. Still giving it plus money. I don't know why they're plus money.
Jeez.
Hit it for like plus 155, I believe, Josh Jacobs. But Big X, Big Bets are 8-15 in September. We got to pick it up, and I got to give them out today.
Will you do it with Dalton, I assume?
No, with you here.
Oh, you're going to do it at the end of okay, just remind me when we get down to the final minutes here. Buccaneers, Texans tonight at 7 o'clock on ABC, and then Chargers, Raiders at 10 o'clock on ESPN. Love having the double Monday Night Football to kind of, it's football. We're going to be feeling the hunger pangs tomorrow when it gets taken away. Love getting a double dose tonight. 502-414-1450. Let's run through the Game Day Men's Health text line. A lot of text to get to. Not a ton of time to do it, but we're going to get there. Texter says, my theory, this is Dave, teacher from Jeffersonville. My theory I shared with Roman. Okay, theory, if GT can beat Clemson and we end with a 11-1 GT, 12-0 Miami, and 10-2 other team, maybe U of L. I think all three get in, especially since Notre Dame lost A&M. They sometimes have blocked the third ACC team from the playoffs. I mean, maybe it's just if you thought it was tough for us to get 2 in last year, this year is going to be even tougher because both of our teams went in there and lost in the first round last season, and we've fared somehow even worse in the non-conference this year. I think we have to win the ACC or have a perfect storm take place.
And it couldn't be a loss to Miami.
Yeah. Texas, I just read that only 6 of the top 50 basketball recruits for the class of 2026 have committed. CBS Sports has a good column with anonymous coaches saying no one knows what to do right now with the market. That's 100% why it's happening. You've got a handful of coaches out there that just don't want to recruit high school kids now. Rick Pitino said he wouldn't take a high school 5-star kid for free. Now, that may be a little bit of hyperbole. The man's prone to it. But I do think there are coaches who are just like, why would I dedicate any of the limited resources we have to a freshman
who's not going to start?
Yeah, when all the best teams recently have been laden with experienced portal guys. And yeah, I mean, I think that everybody's trying to figure out the best route forward, and nobody with any sort of degree of certainty knows what it is. Texter says, we won't be ranked until the Miami game to manufacture a top 25 game for Miami. If we're not, I don't know if it would be to manufacture a top 25 game for Miami, but if we're not ranked if we beat Pitt, we'll be ranked after we beat. I mean, they're not going to have a 5-0 team from the ACC, regardless of who they've played, not be in the top 25 going into mid-October. I mean, maybe they will, but I'd be shocked at this point. Of course, they do have a winless team ranked in the top 25 right now going into the second to last week of September, so who the hell knows. Texas, are you going to the Lions-Bengals game in Cincy on text group on October 5th? We've looked in tickets for NFL games are outrageous, man. Like, that's the thing. If I can luck into a deal, would love to go. Like, we got the station tickets for the Colts game last year, the Colts-Lions game. But, like, bad seats at an NFL game right now are like
$200.
It's like $400 right now on Ticketmaster.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at Saint seats.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're going to have to hope to get better deals closer to the game, but as of right now, we're hoping. Texas, I agree with the Riddler on the band. Their issue is they only play songs from the 80s. I'm not expect what Gambling State did to Ohio State, but at least hit 2003. I think you mean Grambling State. I mean, I haven't been to a game this year. I can't really weigh in on this whole thing, but I don't think it's a problem with just our band. But I wish our band was a little bit better. But again, what are you going to do? Texas, I also wrote something totally different above. Let's see. You said, I have 2 girls and only grew up with brothers. I've been doing their hair by myself every morning for the last 2 years, and they still tell me it isn't right. Just know you're not alone. Thank you. That makes me feel a little better. Also says, okay, as a U of L music alum, I know the band isn't super huge, but we aren't a big enough music school against some of the other big schools. If you want a bigger band, put more money into the music school. I know nobody will, but as a proud alum of the music school, I had to say it. There you go. I appreciate the music school take. They're doing the best they can with the resources they have. Roman just hates the band.
I feel like
he hates the band.
Here's my thing.
You hate the band.
Here's my thing, Mike. I feel like there's a lot of local good band kids that I knew about or had mutual friends when I was in high school of kids at different schools who were on band teams that were, pretty prevalent for the high school in the city. Central, Ballard, a couple different other schools. And they all went to like small colleges outside of Louisville. I wonder maybe it's just
you're calling out the band recruiting.
They're not recruiting locally, Mike. I'm just kidding. I don't know if that's true.
They're going out of Florida.
I don't know if that's true at all, but I felt like that wasn't happening much from the people I knew that were like, I'm this good at marching band. I'm going to go to college for it. I like doing it for football games, and they never even considered Louisville.
You got to keep the best flautists home.
Got to keep
the best tromboners.
We're going to get like 3 texts. U of L graduate, went to school here, high school here, was on the band team. Don't know what you're talking about, Roman. My entire floor of my dorm was on the band team. But
does someone who plays the trombone, are they known as a tromboner?
Trombonist?
No, tromboner. From this point forward, it's tromboner. That's what we're saying. Texture says, I really hope the Cards can be 5-0 when we get to Miami because that October 17th through October 25th has potential to be an all-timer. Imagine beating Miami, watching Michael do a backflip 360 between the legs dunk on Darren Peterson, then seeing Isaac and Duke run for 400 yards on BC. And that's like the best weather time of the year. Right before Halloween. Oh,
that'll be a great week for sure.
Should be.
Could be.
Hopefully is. Texas Gelati only started the second half because Mike Dana got hurt. Oh. They all their media folks were certainly acting like he was doing it based on merit. But I'll take your word for it. Why is Text Groove? Why every day at 5 o'clock, Roman, does Text Groove do this?
Hey, Mark and Romano. Have you all listened to much of the Field of 68 stuff with U of L today? The interview with PK was good, and the main tweet segment was all right. I did feel like it was one of PK's more unique interviews, which I appreciated. Yeah, he hadn't really done anything like that yet, Mike.
Having it live, I think, was cool. I enjoyed. I watched almost all of it.
I'm over there watching every Kanai jumper in the background, seeing if it looks consistently the same every single time.
Who's working with the trainers back there? I was kind of like trying to get sneak peeks to everybody, but I mean, all of the stuff with all the players was good too. It was definitely very good. Texas, can we please talk about Cutter? Winner, chicken dinner. I had to do a little Cutter segment without you on Friday. It felt wrong, but he got named the starting quarterback. We had to talk about it. He played pretty well, right? I think UK.
Yeah, he did.
UK didn't look great, but they were pretty happy with Cutter. I mean, Eastern Michigan gave up 52 points to Texas State and lost to Long Island. He should have been good. If he wasn't, it was going to be a huge, huge red flag for the rest of the season. But, I mean, it kind of feels like Cutter's going to be the guy against us again for a second straight year.
Made a lot of good throws, had a couple deep throws. Felt like he had a better second half from what I heard, but he's from here, Mike. It's only a matter of time.
Calzada, more like can't throw her.
Wasted that money on him.
Get him out.
When we had that local boy that whole time. You knew he knew the system.
You know he's from here. That's Jimmy's kid. Texas, you weren't lying about those Hokie football players getting out of Blacksburg. 6 minutes ago, Virginia Tech cornerback Dante Lovett enters the transfer portal. Lovett will redshirt and enter with 2 years of eligibility. I mean, they could end up being bad this year. You know,
something about kids doing this, Mike. I don't know how to think about it.
Oh, I hate it.
But I would do this.
But you understand.
I would be feeling the same way if I was a player like this. If I've only got a year or two left.
Hell yeah.
Why? You know you're Power 4 good. Why waste it at VT?
I hate it, and I would do the exact same thing.
But you chose to play there. You chose to come and see this thing through no matter what happens, technically. Maybe not. Maybe, all these kids are, if it goes how I think in the first 4 games, then I'll stay. Maybe that's their whole thing nowadays. But it still feels something about, it's a quitter mentality in my eyes for kids to be doing this. You're quitting on the team.
I think that's the mentality that's been kind of hammered into everybody's head growing up. And I still have that mentality too, just to clarify. But it's also a smart business move for them. If you only get 4 years of eligibility in college, but you have 4 years to play, or 5 years to play 4 seasons, and let's say you were a partial starter for each of your first 3 years at VT, and right now this is your last go-round, you'd be wasting your last year of college athletics to be playing on a team that seems destined to go like 3-9, 4-8 without a head coach. One more year, especially if you've been a decent player for the past 3 years, you're going to get paid to play somewhere. You're going to have one more go in college, and you can go out on a high note as opposed to whatever the hell is going to happen in Blacksburg over the next 2 months. I 100% would do the exact same thing. I don't like it as a fan, but I completely understand it.
Yeah.
Texas, hi, Mike and Roman. I had the best weekend. I flew to Baltimore to see Lamar beat Cleveland. The stadium is very nice. That does sound like a good weekend. Lamar looked good.
Really good.
Lit up the Browns. Lamar is really good. I mean, what else do you want me to say? He's probably going to light up the Lions next week, but
some interesting play calls there for the Ravens in the red zone.
Texas Lazard got here. I needed Cal to cash a parlay Saturday night, so I watched that entire game. They're a good football team. Thank God they're coming to us. Virginia is also going to be a tougher game than we thought. Moss JMU reactions are over. I think they mean most. JMU reactions are overreactions. Good point on Virginia. They've looked a little bit better than. I know they haven't played anybody great. The offense has looked good.
I'll say that for sure.
And
defense, I'm not worried about.
I do think Cal's got. I think they've got more pieces in place to not just be a first 3-week wonder like they were last year.
I haven't really played anybody.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon State, whatever. They've got power conference players. Minnesota, same thing. It's not, like I said in the beginning, it's not a murderer's row.
Yeah.
But it's not Indiana going out there and just blasting Little Sisters of the Poor for 3 straight weeks.
They look better than we thought, so.
Yeah. Texas says, I'm hearing that Moss only was a starter for 1 year and he was benched the same year. Why was our confidence higher than it was for Jack Plummer? Because, I mean, his numbers were certainly better than Jack Plummer's. He was a lot of people thought he was the scapegoat because
Jack also knew Brom's offense.
We had to find a quarterback in short order. I think Jeff looked at the quarterbacks that were on the roster and was like, this isn't gonna cut it. And by the time he got the job, he was already kind of up against it when it came to finding a guy in the portal. So yeah, a guy that had been a starter that knew his system, it was kind of a layup for him. But that was, I remember hearing behind closed doors, Jeff and company kind of saying, this should be our worst starting quarterback while we're here. And hopefully that still winds up being the case.
Well, I don't really know much. I only know like my personal friends and fans and stuff that I was getting to talk to about it. What was the talk preseason going into 2023? Like, were we thinking this was going to be a 9 or 10 win team?
I think people were hoping for. I think it was honestly similar to the talk going into this year. There were some people saying, I predict us to go 8-4. I remember that, and we ended up going 10-2. I think people were very excited about Jawar coming back after what he had done, and some of the talent we had at specialty positions. The offensive line was going to be good.
Yeah.
We had stars on defense, but there was concern about the quarterback position, and I think everyone just kind of trusted Jeff to take care of that. And for the most part, he took care of it as much as he could. So it was. I think the over/under for that team was, I want to say 7.5 or 8, right around kind of where it's been the last couple of years. It was a lot like all 3 of his teams, honestly, just outside the top 25. People talking about us being an ACC dark horse, but nobody really predicting us to go out there and be 10, 11, 12 win good. Texas, I think Roman just said the Lions ran it up on the Bears to show Ben Johnson what he's missing, which brings me to a question. Do you want a coordinator that doesn't want to become a head coach one day? To me, that's a little bit of a red flag if they're satisfied just being a coordinator. Maybe not if they're older, but at that age, I'd hope he's grinding to become a head coach one day. What are your thoughts?
Exactly what the texter just said.
Yeah.
If they're a young guy, red flag. If you're an older guy, I almost think it's you know what your process is. You know what you want out of that job and what you know your abilities are, and you don't want to change that up. I think that you can find more success with consistency if you're an older guy who knows what he wants out of life in that sense. But
yeah, who was it? Chip Kelly.
Yeah,
leaving UCLA to go to where's he now? Ohio State.
Yep.
That was basically just like a guy who'd been a head coach a number of times and was like, I don't want to do this anymore. There's too much going on. I just want to focus on coaching football. That's one thing. If you've got a guy who's never been a head coach before and is an offensive coordinator, I want somebody who's got the drive to put himself on some coaching hot boards.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't want to be a head coach, but you still want somebody who's going to want that attention so he can at least drive his own price up. So, yeah, I agree with the texter.
I'm also okay, Mike. Sorry, it's niche and random. I'm okay with the coordinator who doesn't want to, he wants to stay the coordinator for that head coach until that head coach is done too. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Texter, hey Mike, this guy's gonna keep saying first time texter, long time listener every time now because I keep pointing out that he's texted in a billion times to the show. Even if we are winning, what would it take to bench Miller and start presumably Deuce Adams, or is there no chance that happens if we remain undefeated?
Definitely not happening if we remain undefeated.
I would say very little chance if we remain. Now, if we go out there and we beat Bowling Green in like a 13-10 game and then beat Pitt like 10-7, then maybe. But, I mean, we saw with like Plummer was pretty bad in some wins when we were winning, and he still was like, Jack's the guy. I think part of that was because our backup sucked. And, Brock Doman he knew the offense. Brock Doman, when we saw him try to throw the ball, was not great. And we had nobody better than him at that point. Texas NC State at 20 is laughable. I actually kind of disagree. I think they're going to be good this year. Texas Hadley had the braids in during the interview today. Did he? I was watching on my phone. Maybe I just missed it.
NC State at 20, that's a little bit high, Mike.
They're not going to be there when the actual polls come out.
It's not laughable.
I think they're going to. I'll be shocked if that team doesn't make the NCAA tournament. I'll say that. They've got a bunch of talent, and I think Will Wade, he's an a-hole. He's got the goods when it comes to coaching. Texas is generally a fan of Tilted 68, but Goodman rubs me the wrong way sometimes. He thinks he's overly chummy with everyone he talks to and was trying to fish stuff out of the players that he knew they weren't going to answer. Yeah, I mean, I think he rubs everybody the wrong way sometimes, and I like Jeff, but he definitely rubs most people the wrong way. Texas Andre McGee, point guard you. How dare you? How dare you? Texter says, how about IU shamelessly running up the score on Indiana State? IU fans are so thirsty and they slurp it up. Also, look at the Clemson tweet from above. I did read that. I found myself starting to hate Indiana football.
Yeah. Signetti having that kind of lead and looking like his team just costed him his job. Come on. I mean, I get like you want to have your coach be intense to the final whistle, but this was like, you're not Nick Saban, man.
I've gone from having no real feelings about Indiana football, kind of like enjoying when they're good just because they've got some funny fans and it's a program that's historically been terrible my whole life at football and I like mixing it up, to now I will actively root against them on Saturday night against Illinois. Like I want them to get pummeled. They've just been, I don't like anything about the way that they're handling this whole deal. Texas Dan Meskey, Dan Meskey guy. Texas very classy move by the Lions fans chanting F Ben Johnson inside Ford Field. I didn't love it. Did not love it. It's the NFL. Stuff happens. Nobody's classy in the NFL. I did not like it at all, though.
I didn't either, but that stuff's never going to stop in the NFL.
Texas Mike, which are you more proud of, the trombones joke or the lube in, lube out joke? Okay, so I found – so I did – after saying that I was going to tweet it at some point this season, I did tweet lube in makes me want to get the lube out when he had the tackle for the touchdown against James Madison. I was informed by somebody who would know over the weekend that Kleb Lubin is aware of the tweet and that he enjoyed it and that the health nutrition staff enjoys it so much that they have a whole like text thread group that's named after it. So I don't know how to feel about this. I'm a 41-year-old father of two. probably shouldn't be making tweets like this anymore about college football, but it was a moment. I said that I was going to do it at some point later in the season. It was a big-time moment to put us ahead, and as long as the U of L folks enjoyed it, then I'm good with it.
Sounds like Clev wants to come on the show, Mike.
Let's get him on the show. He's an engaging young man.
Also, I'm feeling optimistic. Isaac Brown probably, was fond of my tweet to him last year.
He loved it. I'm sure he did. Texter says, do we secretly like Cutter on the show? I mean, no.
Not at all.
I mean, the worst thing that could possibly happen to the show is if Cutter's actually good.
I want every throw to be an interception.
It would be a terrible thing for our show if Cutter Boley winds up being a very good quarterback who kind of leads Kentucky from the brink of disaster back to being a decent SEC program.
The jokes were not about his ability to start. It was the Kentucky fans at this point of the season last year thinking that true freshman named Cutter was going to be the player that took them to the promised land.
But make no bones about it, if that winds up happening, it will get thrown back in our face, and we will have a tough time pivoting from it. Texas says, I know we got to go quick so you can do your big X, big bets. I was in Miami 2 years ago, and Coach Brom and the Cards never looked intimidated. Louisville is going to go down to Coral Gables and roll an undefeated Miami team. I hope you're right. Texas, we've all seen drum roll. HBCUs are the place to go for a band member. I mean, they do have the best bands. Texas, a $7 million buyout for Brent Pry. Turkey up Vatek. I can't wait to make fun of Vatek going into the game. The whole, don't call us Vatek thing. Texas, I 100% agree on IU football. I used to pull for them. Now I want them to lose every game. Last text we can get to. Scoot Hater also says, I can't stand Haynes King. We hate everybody in the text line today. I do like. He's a glorified running back. Also, can we clip that Lubin part for an ad? No. Knowing the.
I hate that Haynes keeps having success without a lack of arm talent, Mike, but you can't deny that he's a dog.
He is a dog. I mean, he's also perfect for Brent Key and what he tries to be. Like they want that. They want that type of athletic program. They want guys that you feel like would win street fights. That's kind of the mentality he has, and Haynes King absolutely has that dog in him. All right, Big X, Big Bets. What do we got for tonight?
All right, Mike. Ranger Suarez on the mound going up against Emmett Sheehan. Phillies Dodgers tonight. Rangers going to get the job done, I predict. But I'm on his strikeouts. A lot of swingers for these Dodgers. His strikeout prop down to 4.5 tonight. He's going to get to that 5th K. That's the first prop.
Baseball's
in our Big
over.
X, Big
Baseball's
Bets.
over. We don't do baseball. We don't talk baseball anymore. It's done.
And with that being said, we're also on the St. Louis Cardinals money line tonight, 7:46 p.m. for our second Big X Big Bet of the day. Zach Little on the mound, going to have another poor performance going up against Libator. So we're feeling good. Those are the only two Big X Big Bets for tonight. Trying to keep it simple, get this record back up.
All right, we have doubleheader in Monday Night Football, though. Tampa Bay, undefeated. 1-0. But a lot of people thinking that this could be a playoff team. On the road, taking on a Houston Texans team that kind of needs to bounce back early, but still you don't want to lose these types of 50-50 games at home. Texans are a 2.5-point home favorite. C.J. Stroud looking to bounce back from a rough opener. Roman, who you got?
I like the Buccaneers here. I really do. Texans are going to have to prove it to me after how they looked at the end of last season, and C.J. kind of just being a little bit iffy now, a little bit. They got to get back to playing that good offensive football that they had been playing, and the defense being one of the best defenses right now. I'm on the Bucs.
I feel like this is too obvious, but I am taking the Bucs as well. And then the nightcap, 10 o'clock on ESPN, Chargers Raiders, LAC, 3.5-point road favorites at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. Who you got?
Give me the Chargers here. Give me the Chargers in an ugly one.
I hate myself for this because I'm Justin Herbert's biggest hater just because of how annoying Danny's been about him. But I think that they're primed to be decent this year. I think they're going to be a playoff team.
I like Amari Hampton, and Ashton Genty touchdowns tonight.
Okay.
But not official Big X.
I'm taking Chargers. I will probably parlay the Bucs and Chargers money line and try to make some money that way.
Same here.
Be boring. Take it. All right. Again, we got Money's with Dalton Pence coming up here next. 90 more minutes of U of L sports talk here on the Big X. Keep it locked right here. We're back tomorrow at 2:30. We'll start talking a little bit more Bowling Green and the lack of a bye week. Talk to you then. Go Cards.
Go Cards.
Tom Burks United Mechanical is your trusted partner for commercial and industrial HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and refrigeration.